important trust in this land. The thy blessing descend upon us here in this house assembled. Grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, to promote thy honor and glory, to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country, and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our church. Amen.
Correction and approval of records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 25th November 2022.
Can any honorable member please move that the said record of votes and proceedings be considered and approved? Honorable member for Nyanija.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to move that the records of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 25th November 2022 be considered and adopted. Thank you.
Honorable members, any seconder? Honorable member for Sani Mentoring.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 25th November 2022 be approved. We all have copies of the record of votes and proceedings. As usual, we look through it page by page. Any honorable member who has any observations on any page may do so. We begin with page 1. All right, honorable members, we move to page 2. All right, honorable members, we can now move to page 3.
Speaker.
Yes?
Page 3.
Honorable member for Central Badibu.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, under page 3, Office of the President, I submitted a request for us to reduce the OP, the presidential tour, and a vote was taken on it. I think the vote should be reflected in the minutes. Page 3.
Page 3.
Under the Committee of Supply.
Committee of Supply, yes.
Yes, a vote was taken on the presidential tour to reduce it to 6 million. And I believe the vote should be included in the minutes.
Honorable Speaker.
Yeah, but you just capture that portion. Both. Honorable Member for Central Balibu. Yeah, I think that is an omission. We voted on it, and the votes should have been recorded. Though finally we adopted the office of the president's vote with certain amendments, but that specific item, it was tabled and it was voted on, and therefore the vote should be recorded. The table office will note that.
Yeah.
Member for Nyanija.
Yes, under correction and approval of the records of votes, page 3, Honorable Omar Job, member for Nyani, move. Oh.
Honorable Member, where are you?
I'm not lost. Okay, page 3.
Yes.
Honorable Omar Job, member for Nyani, move the motion for the Assembly to consider and approve the records of votes and proceeding. Instead of putting a full stop, the sentence would have continued, put and. It was seconded by Honorable Member for Lower Sal. Full stop.
Have you seen it? Any other observations or proposed corrections? On page 3, Woolly East, Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Yes, thank you. Honorable, wherever we said is one head, we will say stands part of the estimates.
Pardon?
Wherever you have one head, head 01, stands part of the estimates. And where you have two heads, then you say stand part of the. Oh, you understand what I'm saying?
If it is singular, you add the S. If it is plural, the S is removed. Where did it appear? Pardon? Yeah, just give us one so that we know that. Page 3.
The last paragraph. Question
Yes.
put that head 01, head of the office of the president. Stand. We put S there, stands.
Yeah. Yeah. Honorable members, if you look at page 3, the last line is one head, head 1, office of the president. The stand should be stands part of the bill. And all subsequent areas where you have only one head, singular, the stand should be stands, the S should be added. Where it is two or more heads, then the stand remains as stand, no S. It should be noted for all other pages. Any other observations, corrections, proposed corrections on page 3? Honorable members, we now move to page 4. Members, we now move to page 5. Honorable Member for Woolly East.
Yes, thank you. Page 5, the first paragraph, it says question put that heads 31. It's only one head, just head 31. You remove the S. And the start.
Number 4, the first paragraph, instead of heads 31, because it's only one ministry, the S should be out, And if the S is out, the stand should take plural. S added, huh?
The same question.
Pardon?
The same question. Yes, where you said questions put. For consistency purpose, S should be out, yeah.
Head 33, National Human Rights Commission. Is it that one? Number 4. Okay, question. Any more on page 4, page 5 rather? Yes, the last paragraph.
The last paragraph also is questions put. You just put the S of.
Last paragraph, number 8. Questions put. It's just one question, so the S should be out. Honorable members, we now move to page 6. Honorable member for Nyanija.
Yes, the first paragraph. Honorable Alajimo, member of Upper Salu, move a motion for the committee of the supply. Committee of supply instead of D. The article D should be out. Yeah, that is it from my side.
Page 6. Hold on. Honorable Alajimbo, member for Upper Salum, moved a motion for the committee of supply. The D should be out. Huh? Yes? Member for Sabak Sanjal.
Yes, if you further read on the same paragraph, for the Committee of Supply to reallocate the sum of 249,643,754.10 saved from the 2023 estimate to the following ministries and institutions as follows should be removed. Because you have already said that for the following ministries and institutions, so you don't need to add as follows again.
Comments, honorable members? Language experts. Pardon?
I'm saying my argument is you already.
Yeah. I think you are heard loud and clear. It means, yes. Here West.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, I think the follows is talking about the allocations. And here it says the following ministries and institutions as follows. So that as follows is talking about the distribution, the allocation. That's not talking about the ministry. So I think it's correct. It's correct.
I wish we were doing it in Fula, Mandinka, Olof.
That will be my suggestion too.
So what is our preference?
Okay, as it is.
As it is?
Yeah.
Or we amend it?
It's okay.
As it is?
Yes.
Okay.
It's correct.
All right. Any other then? Any other? Any other observations?
I do have.
Pardon?
No, he's right.
I do have one.
He's right.
Yes, member for Combo East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. As my colleague has just said, the reputation of follows. It could be to the following ministries listed below. You know, to show below as the list below follows. Then because the following is repeating here twice.
Honorable
So
member, I think
be,
members have taken a decision on that.
Yes.
They have already taken, there was a proposal, and members felt that it should be left as it is. other proposals? No, we on the topic. So if there are any other observations or comments on the page, you can raise it up.
Honorable Speaker,
Yes?
I still want to comment on the same page. I don't know if I am
Honorable
allowed.
Member for Sabak Sanjal, yes?
Yes, I want us to look at this properly. I think I still want to maintain my stance that it is a repetition, because if you look at it from this 2023 estimate to the following ministries and institutions, and you come again and say it as follows. It has already been mentioned that the ministries that are following and the institutions that are following below, the distribution is reflecting on that. So if you say the ministries that are following below and you come again and say it as follows, I think it's a repetition.
No, my problem is, I think this was, you eloquently put your suggestions.
Yeah.
And after it was tabled, it looked like there is unanimity that we leave it as it is. And we are opening it up again for further discussions. All right, nonetheless, Honorable Member for Woolly East, can you come take the floor?
Yes, thank you, Honorable. Honorable, what it is saying, the following ministries is these ministries that are here. But then when you say as follows here, it is indicating how it is done, how the distribution is done. This 249 million is distributed as indicated below. That's what it is saying.
Yeah, honorable members, you know, distribution is ordered in the sentence that it should be distributed to the ministries. How it should be distributed is what this as follows indicates. Now this one should have 10, this one should have 2, this one should have 1. That's as follows. Now the distribution, it is already stated that it should be distributed among the ministries. But how is as follows. I think that's what it is being said. So, honorable members, we've come to the end of the observations and comments. Do I have to? Yes, you are right. You are right. Honorable members, we now move to page 7. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member for Busumbala.
Yes, I just want to be enlightened about how we reached to this figure. The yes 32 and no's 11 on the vote, because I can't remember us making a head count on this.
We did, Honorable Member, we did. Probably you went out. We did a head count and it was, I announced the results. Any other comments on page 7? Kiang East.
Okay, Honorable Speaker. That the Assembly do agree on the motion, the ayes 32 votes, the noes. I think the noes is not properly spelled. I think it should be N-O and an S. It's correct. Okay. All right.
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Member for Sabak.
Yes. Honorable Speaker, I understand they want to put dash, yes? After ayes, dash 32 votes, noes, dash 11 votes. But if you look at it, it looks like negative 32 and negative 11. I think that dash should go, because otherwise it will read as negative or negative 32 or negative 11. So that dash should go, because it is attached to the number, and the number there now reads as negative 32. Yeah, of course, it reads as negative 32. If it stands alone, it's positive. That's what we know. Mathematically, if it stands alone, it is positive. But if you put that dash there, it will read as negative 32.
No, it's hyphen, in fact. Speaker, can I help him?
Yes, Honorable, yes, who wants to say something?
Yes.
Yes, Central Badibu.
Yeah, I think he wants to teach us new methods of maths, negative and positive. But this is hyphen. Here is seen as hyphen, not as minus sign.
Okay. So we understand it to be 32 votes, meaning 32 MPs voted yes, 11 MPs voted no. So if it is about votes, even if you make it minus, you cannot have minus nums or plus nums. It's a valid observation because people can interpret anything. Fortunately, we are not in a legal this thing. But we now agree that as it is here, this thing is a hyphen, 32 votes against 11 votes. Sabak, are you comfortable? Yes. Okay. Honorable Member, Same?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the floor. For a layman, yes, 32 votes, yes, 11 votes. Based on what? No, I don't know.
Honorable Member, were you here? Were you aware that we were in disagreement until we voted? On the motion.
I want it to be featured. No, I was here.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Honorable Member, is you were aware of the votes on the motion? You were not here, probably.
Honorable Speaker.
That is why, when you are not here, we will always go steps backwards. But we voted on an issue that there were disagreements on. We cannot agree on one. And we had to resort to voting. And the result of that vote is what is captured.
Speaker, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Member. Is it BANJUL, no?
Yes, telling me.
Huh?
Telling me.
Yeah?
Yes, I think he wants some clarity with regards to why we voting. So if you look at the motion, did you see the motion, Honorable Mbo? That Honorable Mbo move, Alaji Mbo. Did you see the motion? On top. Page 6 on top. The motion Honorable Alaji Mbo moved. This is the motion we voted on. Page 6 on top. That's the vote. The vote is about that motion. You get it? Okay, thank you.
You now understand it. Okay. Honorable members, any more on page 7? Okay. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded.
Honorable speakers, sorry, observation.
Yes, member.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, if what Honorable Sise of Same asks is about the motion moved by Honorable Mbo, so what is the final vote? The final vote of the whole budget is not stated here.
Final vote of the?
No, because what Alaji Mbo, Honorable Mbo, is Honorable Mbo, member for Upper Salu, moved a motion for the Committee of Supply to reallocate the sum. So if that is the motion that the ayes and noes are stated for, but I mean the final vote on the whole budget. That's my question. It's not.
Honorable Speaker, let me help him.
Okay.
Okay. The final vote is the assembly was not divided.
Honorable member, Central Badibu, comfortable? Okay. Members, I think that marks the end, isn't it? Okay. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that the record of votes and proceedings of the National Assembly sitting of Friday, 25th November 2022 be approved with amendments. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Clerk.
Laying of papers and reports. Consolidated report of the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT on public institutions from 2017 to 2020 and its visits to schools on hard-to-reach areas in Central River Region and Upper River Region, July 2021, by the Honorable Chairperson of the committee.
Honorable Chairperson of the Committee on Education. Can you take the
Thank you so very much. In the
I understand that the Vice Chairman, is it Gassama?
The vice is Gassama, the chair is Mubu.
I'm saying that who is to table here? I think it's the Vice. That's Gassama. That's what I'm saying. Why is Gassama around? Honorable Gassama? Pardon? Yeah, you can take the floor and table your report.
I am an ordinary member now. I was the chairman of the same committee in the last legislature, but this time I'm an ordinary member. I'm the chairman for the Select Committee on Environment. Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker, and good morning, honorable members. The report I am about to present is a consolidated report of the consideration of audited financial statements, management letters, and activity reports of public institutions and the visit to hard-to-reach schools in CRR and URR. These are regions 5 and 6, respectively. The table of contents is introduction, acknowledgement, University of the Gambia, National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority, that's NACA, National Council for Civic Education, Management Development Institute, MDI, Gambia College, and visit to hard school areas. Honorable Speaker, in compliance with the provisions of sections 102, 109, 110, and 175 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, the Select Committee on Education, Training, and ICT of the National Assembly considered the annual activity reports and audited financial statements, as well as the external auditors' management letters of all the institutions and agencies under the purview of the committee. This exercise is to ensure accountability, transparency, and probity in all public institutions and agencies for efficient service delivery. 5 public institutions were summoned to appear before the committee. These are the University of the Gambia, UTG, the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Directorate, NACA, Management Development Institute, MDI, the Gambia College, National Council for Civic Education, and the National Library. The committee received and considered testimonies and evidence from key witnesses, including board members, management, external auditors, and staff of Gambia Public Procurement Authority, GPPA. In addition, other issues and queries were considered, and subsequently, the committee made recommendations. As part of our oversight functions, the committee also visited schools regarded by the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education as hard-to-reach schools in the Upper River and Central River regions of the country in July 2021. The Gambia education policy aims to provide access to quality basic and secondary education for every Gambian child. This visit is therefore essential for the committee to perform effective oversight on policy and budget implementation geared towards providing equal access to education and opportunities to children in remote areas that are extremely difficult to access. During this extremely intensive exercise, the committee, in partnership with the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and Gambia Teachers Union, Cooperative Credit Union, GTU, CCU, were able to complete most of the tasks we set out to perform. Acknowledgement. The committee is grateful to the Office of the Speaker and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly in providing technical support during the whole process. I wish to express my appreciation to the honorable members of the committee secretariat, subject matter specialists, school heads and teachers for the valuable information provided to us that culminated in the production of this report. The committee wishes to acknowledge with appreciation the invaluable support and cooperation of all the public institutions, agencies that complied and submitted themselves to legislative scrutiny as established by law. Similarly, we are also indebted to all aides, subject matter specialists, clerk and support staff of the committee for their support, without which the committee would not have succeeded. On behalf of the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT Committee, it is my pleasant privilege and honor to present to this Assembly a consolidated report of the Committee on the activities of public institutions under our purview, as well as visits to hard-to-reach schools in URR and CRR. With the public institutions, we begin with the University of the Gambia. For the UTG, we considered their report from 2015 to 2021. And I want to inform this August Assembly, 2015 to 2019, I want to inform this August Assembly that when we started this exercise, we found a backlog of unconsidered reports from 2015. So we had to work backwards from 2015 in order to be able to do our oversight work effectively, because those years would provide, we thought, would provide us the basis to work on the more recent financial statements. So with the University of the Gambia, the Vice Chancellor and the Board Chairman presented the activity reports of the institution for the year ended 31st December 2015 to 2019 to the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT. The report covered the activities, constraints, recommendations, and updates on implementation of previous recommendations of the then PEC. It used to be PAC and PEC that considered these reports. But during the 5th legislature, the Office of the Clerk decided that other committees too could help, because there was a lot of backlog. So this is why I think it was the select committees, or some select committees were also involved. But this time around, everything has gone back to FPAC and PEC. The Director of Finance and auditors presented the financial statements and the audit reports respectively, whilst the GPA presented a compliance report of the institution with procurement regulations, findings and issues, governance. We're talking about the University of the Gambia. The committee observed that the Governing Council was an interim body since 2017. The second one, the committee observed that there were vacant senior management positions. The committee too observed that UTG was found to be 50% compliant as at 2017, which denotes fairly compliant with the Public Procurement Act 2014 and Regulations 2003. From the NACA report, that there is no consistent and systematic approach to the development of curriculum within the university. There was no policy indicating the frequency of policy review. The committee observed that the internal audit department is a member of the contracts committee. The committee too observed that the audit team should concentrate on their responsibilities on the procurement chain. The internal auditors should prepare and submit quarterly reports to Governing Council. And on revenue and expenditure, the committee observed that with reference to the purchase of air tickets in 2015, a transaction was approved by the Contracts Committee for $120,000, but the tickets purchased was over $300,000. The institution maintained an overdraft of $10 million in a bank when they had more than $25 million equivalent in foreign currency in the same bank. Research and development activities. The committee noticed with great concern that there was no evidence of documented policy on research and development. And then we recommend the following. The UTG should set up a permanent governing council by the end of June 2021. The governing council should set up various subcommittees by the end of July 2022. All vacant senior positions at the UTG are filled by 2021. The UTG should conduct special procurement training for all members of the Contracts Committee, Finance Unit, and the internal auditors by the end of March 2021. The UTG should comply with all GPPA regulations, particularly issues relating to single sourcing. The UTG should desist from offering courses that are not accredited by NACA and fulfill all the requirements demanded by it. In subsequent reports, a table of contents should be provided as it is necessary to guide the readership through the voluminous reports. Reports from various schools should include the courses offered, achievements and constraints, as well as the way forward. An organogram showing the management structure of the university and the members of the governing council should be included in the report. The registrar to give a summary report on various statistics of the university, including but not limited to current student registration by faculty, gender, number of graduating students, staff, etc. This will show the readership the overall figures. The finance unit should prepare quarterly management accounts and various analytical reports which should be made available to the internal auditors and governing council. The committee recommends that the university review all undergraduate programs after every 5 years. This should be explicit in the strategic plan, and funds should be committed to it. Now, broad recommendations. Broadly, the committee recommends that the management of the University of the Gambia should, 1, ensure all new courses are proposed by the deans of individual faculties and approved by Senate. All courses to be accredited by NACA. Well-equipped labs must be provided for all science-based courses as a matter of priority. Staff intending to go on study leave with salary must fulfill all the bonding requirements and must be cleared by the Vice Chancellor in writing. All pending bonding cases must be regularized immediately. The finance and procurement units must not process any payment without proper documentation as required by GPPA procurement guidelines. All requested information should be submitted to external auditors, GPPA, and NACA within 7 working days so that they can complete their work on time. Annual reports should be submitted within 3 months of the end of the financial year as dictated by Section 175(5) of the 1997 Constitution. The UTG should create a health and safety unit with clear terms of reference to guide its operations by the last quarter of 2021. The committee recommends that an up-to-date research strategy be developed to reflect university's current research aspirations and infrastructure to support the coordination and direction of UTG's research and knowledge transfer activities. The committee recommends that the University of the Gambia should ensure that all the recommendations made by the Education Committee are fully implemented before the deadlines given. And we go to National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Directorate, NACA. Issues, concerns, and recommendations. The Chief Executive of National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority presented the reports of the institutions for the years ended 31st December 2018 and 31st December 2019 to the Select Committee on Education, Training, and ICT. The report covered the activities, constraints, recommendations, and updates on implementation of previous recommendations of the then PAC-PEC. The Director of Finance and the auditors presented the financial statement and auditor's report respectively, whilst the GPPA presented a compliance report of the institution with procurement regulations. The committee is also delighted to note that NACA has implemented 90% of the recommendations and issues raised in the previous reports. Journals for non-cash transactions. The committee observed from the management letter of 2019 that journal vouchers were not raised for the following transactions before posting into the accounting system. Date from 31st December 2029, details fuel. 31st December 2019 fuel, amounts $66,050, fuel ledger and lubricants, and 900500. Then on the 31st December 2019, cost of audit fees was $250,000 as professional fees. 31st December 2019, SPLIT, $473,705. These are accruals and other payables. 31 December 2019, PAY, $10,155. This is withholding tax payable. 31 December 2019, net for September to December is $1,574,644. On the 15th May 2019, interest received $135,000. On the 13th February 2019, net accrued $5,502,380. 19th February 2019, personnel cost $683,646. These are salaries and wages. 19 February 2019, personnel cost $74,643, salaries and wages. 19 February 2019, personnel cost $63,000. These are salaries and wages. Then you go to fuel distribution policy. The committee observed that the management does not maintain fuel distribution policy to guide management on distribution of fuel. GPPA compliance level, not available. Recommendations. The committee recommends the following. NACA should ensure that that annual reports and financial statements are submitted to National Assembly in line with Section 175, subsection 5 of the 1997 Constitution. The authority should perform quality audit visits in all institutions under their purview at least once every year to ascertain compliance. The authority should ensure that all licenses relating to trainers and institutions are renewed in accordance with the policy guidelines. The authority should review and set guidelines on curriculum development for all institutions to ensure alignment in standards. The Governing Council should approve overspending on any budget or on any budget line. The Finance and Admin Department should generate quality reports, including variance analysis on budget utilizations, to ensure management is fully updated. The authority should ensure that all withholding taxes are paid to GRA promptly. The committee recommends that the National Accreditation and Quality Authority should ensure that all the recommendations made by the committee are fully implemented. We go to National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, 2017 to 2018. Issues, concerns, recommendations, 2017 to 18. The Administrative Secretary of the National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, presented the reports for the years ended 31st December 2017 and 2018 to the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT. The reports covered the activities, constraints, recommendations, and updates on implementation of previous recommendations. The Director of Finance presented the financial statement and the auditor's report, and the auditors reported the audit findings, whilst GPPA presented compliance report of the institution with procurement regulations, findings, accounting manual. The committee observed in 2018 management report that the accounting framework used in the preparation of the accounts was International Public Sector Accounting Standard, IPSAS, cash basis. However, the Finance and Accounting Department Accounting Procedures Manual does not state the accounting policy or framework that the Council should use in preparing the receipts and payments. Vacant positions. The committee observed that there are some vacant positions and thus not showing the true picture of the Council's structure. We have vacancy name, grade point, Executive Director, grade 12, Monitoring and Evaluation Officer, grade 9, and Administrative Assistant, grade 7. These are the vacant positions. GPPA compliance level. The committee observed that the National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, was found to be 98% compliant, which denotes fully compliant with the public procurement rules and regulations. Recommendations. The committee recommends that the NCCE update their Finance and Accounting Procedures Manual to indicate the type of accounting policy or reporting framework the Council should use in preparing the receipts and payments. The NCCE should fill all vacant positions by the end of July 2021 to ensure smooth operations of the institution. The NCCE should ensure that all previous recommendations made by the committee be fully implemented by the end of 2021. NCCE, in consultation with Parliament and Ministry of Justice, should urgently review and amend the Act, which is grossly inadequate. Their Act is only, I think, 1.5 pages long. You know, that's very nothing in the Act. The government structure, the governance structure and organogram should be included in the future activity reports. The FPAC, in consultation with the Ministry of Finance, should ensure that all budget agencies segregate the budget of all subvented institutions, including NCCE, and clearly show them in the national budget. The Office of the Vice President should, as a matter of urgency, make arrangements for NCCE to have land for the construction of a permanent head office. The NCCE to conduct assessments on the impact of civil education activities in communities. Consider migrating from IPSAS cash-based accounting framework to IFRS accrual accounting. All audit recommendations should be implemented. When we go to Management Development Institute, MDI, 2017 to 2019. Issues, concerns, and recommendations from the report. The Director General of Management Development Institute presented the activity reports of the institution for the year ended 31st December 2017 to 31st December 2019. The report covered the activities, finance, and constraints, as well as updates on implementation of previous recommendations of the then FPAC. The final statement was presented and the auditors reported on the audit findings, whilst DPPA presented the compliance report of the institution with procurement regulations. Findings. The committee observed that during the years under review, the institution never maintained an up-to-date asset register. Assets purchased or acquired were not recorded in the register. However, fixed assets of substantial value donated to the institution were recorded in the register. Bank reconciliation. The committee observed that the institution did not perform bank reconciliation exercises. Student fees. The committee observed that student fees have increased exponentially to 16.7 million in 2018 from 6.9 million in 2017. Fees outstanding are proportionate to about 30% of combined revenue generated from regular and tailor-made courses. GPPA compliance level. The committee observed that the MDI was found to be 50% compliant, which denotes fairly compliant with the Gambia Public Procurement Authority Amendment Act 2018 and the Regulations 2003. Recommendations. The committee recommends that the management of MDI should ensure that all assets of the institution are properly recorded and accounted for to safeguard them and to help prepare a summary financial report. Assets donated to the institution during the financial year be valued fairly and incorporated in the books of the organization. This needs to be completed by the end of 2021. The management should devise a recovery strategy to enhance collection of fees due from students, particularly those that are long overdue. Debtors' accounts should be regularly checked to identify and address doubtful and recoverable debts. The Accounts Department of MDI must ensure bank reconciliation is done on a monthly basis and all issues resolved with the respective banks. The activity report of MDI should include organogram, vision, and mission statements, list of academic and administrative staff by gender, nationality, and qualification, and the student population disaggregated by gender and on all the programs offered. The management of MDI should fully implement all the recommendations from NACA with immediate effect. The committee recommends that management should ensure all the previous recommendations are fully implemented. Development policies and strategies that will address the issue of tuition fees and arrears. Develop an MOU with the University of the Gambia to address the issue of sharing facilities and resources. Broad recommendations. The Higher Education Act should be reviewed so as to address the administrative and procedural challenges of the institution. The composition of members of the board should be consistent with the budget allocation for the research departments should be increased in order to enable the institution to conduct effective and efficient research to realize its objectives. Concerted efforts should be made to strengthen the human resource department. Regular board meetings should be conducted accordingly as dictated by the Act. As director of the Act, various committees must be established by the Council with clear terms of reference and indicate the membership for each committee. And with effect from 2021, NACA should accredit any degree program offered by MDI. Gambia College. Issues, concerns, recommendations from the report. The principal of Gambia College presented the activity report of the institution for the year ended 31st December 2014 to 31st December 2018 to the committee. The reports cover the activities, financial statement, and constraints, as well as updates on the implementation of previous recommendations of the then PAC. The Director of Finance presented the financial statement. The auditors reported on the audit findings, whilst the DPPA presented a compliance report of the institution with procurement regulations. Findings, bank reconciliations. The committee observed that bank reconciliation statements for the period 2014 to 2018 were never done as indicated in the cash book. Fixed assets. The committee noted with great concern that previous auditors suggested to management to develop its fixed asset register, and this was never implemented. Most of the fixed assets acquired were either through outright purchase or grants and were never incorporated in the accounts of the college, apart from the pre-2013 assets, which were valued at $33,000. Manual accounting system. The committee observed that the college still maintains a manual accounting system which is outdated and prone to errors. Missing unsigned payment vouchers. Some payment vouchers, mainly cash payment vouchers, were missing from 2014 to 2018. The committee also observed that some are without signature of the approving authority and relevant supporting documents. The committee noted that the problem of missing payment vouchers persists for quite a long time. Despite several requests by the committee for justification to such practices, management can still provide any justifications. Staff loan. The committee observed that loans issued during the second half of 2017 were not deducted up to January 2018, contrary to the policy. For staff, 50% of their salaries were deducted. In some cases, over 80 to 90% of their salaries were deducted, leaving those staff vulnerable with very little to take home. The committee also noted that some loans were issued, but no repayments were made. Treasury management. The committee observed that cash books are not properly maintained and there were no bank reconciliations in the previous years. During the year under review, the two commercial bank accounts, GT Bank and EcoBank, were grossly overdrawn, resulting to high commission and interest charges, which amounted to $265,523.91 and $106,469.04 bututs, respectively, whilst there were other accounts which could have been utilized by management to avoid such high commission and interest charges. Project funds expenditures. The committee observed that Gambia College is running several projects concurrently, and management uses project funds interchangeably with the college's fund as reflected in the audit report from 2016 to 2018. This has serious consequential effects that will negatively impact on the progress of these projects. See below. So that's the table below. We have first column item number, second column project, third column opening balance as at 31st December 2017, project income received 2018, project payments made, and then closing balance as at 31st December 2018. We have project EFA FTI, 1,222,734. Project income received. That's the opening balance. Project income received was 342,000. Project payments made is $1,031,800. So that's the table. I think we just skip that table. Honorable members will just read that from the table and we proceed. Then we'll go to accounting and audit issues. During the year 2018, the committee noted some negative variances in some budget items from the audit report. A total of $4,084,970 was overspent against the budget. The table below shows that. So that one is also in the table. 4 columns, expenditure, budget, actual, and variances. DPPA compliance on page 20. The Gambia College was found to be 59% compliant in 2015, partially compliant, 78% in 2016, which was mainly compliant with the public procurement rules and regulations, and the compliance for 2017-2018 was not presented. So there was no compliance report for 2017 and 2018. NACA audit report on Gambia College. The committee noticed that enrollments were made without due consideration to the available human and physical resources, thus rendering some classes overcrowded. The audit report further highlighted that there was no evidence of physical files of students as a backup for the online application form. There were discrepancies in the admission requirements for the entire program stated in the college's program brochures. Library facilities. The committee noticed that the college does not have a well-equipped library and there is no existing procedure for updating stock of textbooks within the library. During the audit exercise, there was no existing communication between the librarian and the head of the schools for compilation and procurement of required books. Recommendations. The committee recommends the following. For effective budgetary management control, the committee strongly recommends management to prepare budgets realistically on time and effectively monitor the quarterly management reports and take necessary measures for timely corrective actions. Management should maintain separate cash books for each bank, post transactions correctly, and perform monthly bank reconciliation for all bank accounts. The committee strongly recommends management to determine the assets which existed as of 2017 and their respective value. Accumulated depreciation charges and net book value should be incorporated in the next audited accounts. The committee strongly recommends management to computerize its accounting system for proper, accurate recording of all financial transactions. The committee strongly recommends management to put stringent measures in place to ensure the safety and availability of payment vouchers for verification and that they are properly safeguarded against unauthorized personnel. Furthermore, management should take the finance unit to trace these missing documents. The committee strongly recommends that all loans be deducted on due dates, and colleges should also have a loan policy. In any case, loan deduction must not go above 40% of the salary. The committee strongly recommends for management to reconcile the cash book and all its bank accounts, regularize and update all the outstanding items on a monthly basis. Management should periodically review the bank balances to determine where to make certain payments before checks are raised. This priority should be treated with urgency. The committee strongly recommends the board and management of the college to desist from transferring one project funds to another so as to achieve the desired goals of each project. The enrollment and application procedure must be done through the online portal application. Students without the minimum requirements should be discouraged. The committee further recommends that henceforth the college must prepare minutes of meetings of the admission and ensure that each page of the minute is signed by the secretary. The board of directors should employ competent chartered accountants and support staff to take charge of the finance unit. The Board of Directors should employ competent internal auditors to ensure there are checks and balances in all financial transactions. The committee recommends that the college must appoint a qualified librarian and library support staff, expansion, building of new library with capacity to accommodate at least 20% of the student population. The management of Gambia College must put in place mechanisms to control lateness and absenteeism of lecturers. The committee recommends for the Ministry of Higher Education, in consultation with National Audit Office, to conduct forensic audit exercise of Gambia College. The committee strongly recommends with immediate effect that the Ministry of Higher Education to dissolve the current governing council and constitute a new one. Governing council should approve overspending on any budget line. Then we go to lecturers' regularity and punctuality. The committee observed the high rate of absenteeism of both full-time and part-time lecturers and the moonlighting of lecturers, which have a negative impact on syllabus coverage and quality of programs. The committee observed with grave concern on the appointment of part-time lecturers at the college, and management does not do adequate supervision on their operations. Executive summary. The tour was incurred on, this is going to be the next part of the consolidated report, visitor schools on hard to reach areas of CRR and URR. This is the second part of the report. The tour was anchored on assessing and understanding the challenges of hard to reach schools in URR and CRR are faced with, and to identify factors that affect effective teaching and learning as well. It is important to note that schools categorized by the Ministry of Education as hard to reach lack basic amenities and human resource capacity to operate as normal schools. The committee recognizes that improving teaching and learning in hard to reach schools requires two interventions: increased budgetary allocation and prioritization of MOPSI's budget with regard to hard to reach schools. Methodology. The committee was divided into two teams. The first team was tasked to visit 5 schools in URR North and 5 schools in CRR North, whilst the second team visited 5 schools in URR South and 2 schools in URR South. The total number of schools to visit was 17. A questionnaire was developed. Consultation meetings were held with regional directors and several stakeholders within the education sectors. Meetings and interviews were conducted with school administrators, senior teachers, and staff. And the committees also conducted tour of schools combined with observations. Courtesy call on Regional Education Directorate, Region 5. As tradition demands, the team first made a courtesy call on the Regional Directorate of Education in Basse. Regional Director and his team accorded the team a very warm welcome and made them feel at home. The committee had frank conversations, after which a conducted tour of the complex was undertaken. Observation made at Z, Regional Education Directorate. Staff of the Directorate seemed to be very good, in very good spirit and committed to managing public sector education services in the region effectively. It emerged from the conversations that the team was on top of issues confronting education in the region. The Directorate did not mince their words to express their concerns. The committee noted the following issues and challenges: poor state of buildings and the facilities, both offices and residences, poor hygiene of the compound, particularly waste management and the condition of the sanitary facilities. C, the lack of teachers for certain subjects in upper basic and senior secondary schools in the region. D, high living conditions for teachers in remote settlements. E, high cost of electricity due to the heavy consumption of energy. Findings. The committee observed the following issues and challenges: inadequate toilet facilities, lack of adequate and, in some cases, deplorable staff quarters, inadequate clean drinking water supply, poor and inadequate infrastructure such as classrooms, high enrollment for the early childhood development component against limited classroom blocks. Key challenges. The committee noted the following issues and challenges: inadequate facilities. On the inadequate facilities, we have, in some cases, staff and students having to share the same toilet facilities. the disproportionate ratio of number of children or students to number of toilet cubicles. This is 25. 26. Page 26. Lack of or inadequate in some cases deplorable staff quarters. Amity Senior Secondary School is a case in point here. Inadequate clean drinking water supply, poor and inadequate infrastructure with reference to classrooms, school fences, recreational facilities. Number 5, poor hygiene, most schools. 6, inadequate classroom furniture. 7, in some worst case scenarios, teachers having to occupy classrooms or other parts of the school for accommodation. 8, inadequate space for ECD sector, hence limited number of children schools can take. Consequently, many children find themselves out of school. 9, in some instances, teachers are charged an unrealistic amount of money by landlords for rent. 10, lack of electricity poses a challenge to the effective teaching of science and technology. 11, low admission rate in upgraded schools due to the high rate of student transfers to schools like BANJUL Senior Secondary School and Amity High School, or Amity Senior Secondary School now. School visits, Upper River Region, URR. School 1, Wellingara ER, Lower Basic School. The head teacher reported that the total number of students is 322, of which 169 were girls, and the total of which 169 were girls. And the total number of teachers is 6, including 1 female teacher. The school head highlighted the following challenges: inadequate water and electricity within the school premises, dilapidated and congested staff quarters, lack of sufficient classroom to accommodate the high rate of enrollment, particularly the ECD. Committee's observation: renovate the incomplete building by the former UNICEF representative. Then School 2, Gunjur Kuta Lower Basic School. The village community of Gunjur Kuta established this school in 1982. According to the head teacher, the school constitutes 4 classrooms with an enrollment of 409 pupils and a teaching staff of 6, including the head teacher. He said due to the unavailability of space, the ECD is using one of the rooms of the village health center as classroom with an enrollment of 150 pupils. He noted the following challenges: A, lack of enough classroom to cater for the growing demand of enrollment. B, lack of learning materials, chairs, tables. We had a situation where 4 children were sharing a desk. A small classroom size, lack of teaching staff, lack of trained ECD teachers, congested staff quarters, i.e. 2 teachers per room, lack of adequate toilet facility, inadequate water supply. Committee's observation: the need for the building of complete structure from grade 1 to 6. B, to cope the increased demand of enrollment of the ECD sector, the ministry should erect a block for ECD. C, increase the number of teaching staff. D, considering the distance of the closest basic cycle, Marekunda, which is 5 kilometers. They said it should be Morekunda. Yeah, you are right. It should be Morekunda, not Marekunda, I suppose. But Morekunda, which is 5 kilometers. The school be upgraded to a basic cycle. Lack of fence causes distraction by passers-by and animals. In Tuba Wopa basic school. According to the head teacher, the school roll is 293 with 7 teaching staff, including both the female teacher and school head. The head teacher, together with his staff, highlighted the following challenges: lack of enough classrooms, inadequate water supply, poor toilet facilities, no staff quarters to accommodate the staff. Low capacity and managerial problem of the borehole tank. Committee's observation: the committee visited the head teacher's residence to ascertain the condition in which he lived. Unfortunately, they came to notice that his conditions are quite unbearable and unimaginable as well. He lives in a thatch house unfit for human habitation. Subsequently, the committee made the following recommendations: the construction of additional classrooms, increasing the capacity of water tank to adequately cater for both villages and the school, building of staff quarters. Now the lower basic school. According to the head teacher, the school was built in 1981. The school's roll was 312 with 4 teaching staff, including a female teacher and school head with 3 classrooms. The school runs on multi-grading system. The head teacher, together with his staff, reported the following challenges. A, inadequate teaching staff. B, early marriage posed a great challenge for the completion of the education of the girl child. C, inadequate classroom. D, lack of staff quarters and exorbitant rental charges for staff. Staff pay a house rent of $800 per room. E, inadequate and poor condition of toilet facilities. F, lack of access to clean drinking water and electricity. Committee observations. Lack of classroom to accommodate the growing population of the nursery sector. Lack of access to clean drinking water, electricity, and proper toilet facilities. Then we have Bolibana Basic Cycle School. The school has an enrollment of 221 pupils with 13 teaching staff. Committee's observation. Absence of a school perimeter fence. Insufficient number of teachers for certain subjects such as mathematics and Islamic studies. C, shortage of cleaning materials like wheelbarrows, dustbins, rings, etc. D, cessation of the school feeding program. E, lack of science or home science laboratories and workshops for technical subjects. Consequently, lessons for those subjects are only administered in theory and students cannot register them for the for the Gambian exams. F, lack of electricity supply. G, lack of poor network coverage for any of the Gambia's GSMs, resulting to teachers subscribing to Senegalese GSMs. H, some teachers having to use classroom for accommodation owing to non-availability of quotas. And I, poor remuneration for caretakers and other ancillary staff. The committee was delighted to note through the intervention of GTU, CCU, a 16-room staff quarter was under construction. Members of the committee made some observations on the design of these structures and made some on-spot recommendations which were noted by the school administration and the GTU CCU representative. 6, Sonkunda Basic Cycle School. Situated a few kilometers off the trunk road in the eastern part of Kantora district, this school was established in 1977. It has a roll of 668 students, of which 103 are in the upper basic, and then in the of which 103 are in the upper basic. The school has 20 staff, including 2 female teachers. Furthermore, there is 1 early childhood development class. Committee observations: shortage of clean drinking water, limited classrooms, absence of electricity supply, inadequate structure is being used as a library, cessation of school feeding program, absence of trained CEO, ECD tutor, lack of the following: science laboratory, workshop for technical subjects, essential materials for the effective teaching of mathematics, acute shortage of cleaning materials such as wheelbarrows, rails, dustbins, protective gear for caretakers, laborers. The committee saw a building under construction funded by MRC Holland Foundation. The committee was certainly delighted to have come across such an exemplary donor initiative. Then Patoto Upper Basic and Senior Secondary School has 509 students on the roll in the upper and senior secondary schools combined. The school has 20 teaching staff. Committee observation: the school lacks teachers for certain subjects such as English language, government, visual arts and agricultural science, acute shortage of furniture, ill-equipped metal workshop, school facilities and buildings need renovation, insufficient teaching and learning materials, deplorable condition of staff quarters. And the committee's observation: the need to place the school under a board of administrators could perhaps address most of these issues. Number 8, School 8, Nyamanari Lower Basic School. The visit availed the delegation an opportunity to meet the headmaster of the school, who furnished the committee with the following information. Committee's observation: inadequate furniture for classrooms. The school is fenced with wires, which is grossly inadequate. Serious water shortage, as the only source of water is a 30-meter open well. This puts the life of students and staff at risk. 9, Saranjobo Lower Basic School. Situated about 5 kilometers south of Mankamankunda in Jimara district, This school was established in 1993 and has a roll of 303 pupils, including 5 ECD pupils. The school, including 50 ECD pupils. The school served 10 satellite communities. There are 7 at the school. There are 7 at the school teachers. There are 7 school teachers at the school. Committee observation. Absence of perimeter fence, seriously dilapidated staff toilet, severe water shortage, as the closest water facility in the village is some 300 meters away from the school. Lack of staff quarters, which forces teachers to settle for renting poorly constructed houses in the village. Lack of electricity supply. The closest village to access electricity supply is Gilangel. Limited number of classrooms. There are only 6, including the ECD class. Acute shortage of classroom furniture. Most of the pupils walk for more than 4 kilometers to school from villages like Sare Pate, Sumakunda, and Sare Ali. The closest bank is Bassett. Consequently, teachers travel to this distant town to receive their monthly salaries. Committee's observation. Enrollment at Sarenjobo has increased sharply as a result of an enrollment campaign initiated by the school, especially at the ECD level. This laudable initiative should be adopted by other schools in the region as deemed necessary. Activities and findings in Central River Region, CRR. Now, we have just completed the schools in URR. Now we are going to CRR. In CRR South, delegation first paid a courtesy call on the Director of Region 5 in Janjambure. After a warm welcome, the Director, Mr. Paul Mendy, gladly informed the delegation that his directorate was battling with structural challenges and other issues which are not unique to his region. He, however, urged the delegation to make a short visit to Armitage High School, which is a stone's throw from the directorate. The director lamented issues that were very similar to those raised by RED 6, that is Regional Education 6. Armitage Senior Secondary School, situated in the town of Janjambure. This institute is one of the oldest schools in the country. The school was established in 1927. It is the only government boarding senior secondary school in the country. Committee's observation. Dilapidated staff quarters, putting the health and safety of members of staff at risk. Insufficient classrooms. Grossly inadequate dormitories for students. Presently, only 500 students out of 800 students are housed in the school's dormitory. The school is grappling with the shortage of quality beds for the students despite support from Child Fund, the Gambia. Feeding is also reported to be a crucial issue. There is a pressing need for improving and expanding the sanitary facilities like toilets in the school. It is noteworthy that MRC Holland Foundation carried out massive repair and maintenance of the school's infrastructure not too long ago, and the buildings look very good. However, the maintenance scheme did not include staff quarters. Chagel Basic Cycle School. This settlement is situated some 20 kilometers away from Bansang in the Upper Fuladu West constituency, making it one of the most difficult schools to access. Committee's observation. Non-existence of workshops for technical subjects, lack of sporting just to support physical education and extracurricular activities, no home science laboratory to support pupils opting for those subjects in external exams, the acute water shortage, the absence of staff quarters making it difficult for staff, F, absence of a school perimeter fence, G, acute shortage of furniture for classrooms, H, the challenge is in retaining pupils in classroom, particularly during the rainy season when parents keep their children at home for farming. I, absence of computers, accessories, and printers or copiers to enable the school to facilitate administration and prepare questions rather than outsourcing these services. Committee's observation. Considering the fact that the nearest senior secondary school is located 10 kilometers away, the committee observes the need to expand the school to a secondary school to mitigate the risk of pupils dropping out. School 13, Karantaba Lower Upper and Senior Secondary School. The school principal, together with his staff, reported the following challenges: congested and dilapidated staff quarters, low capacity of water supply, difficulties in retaining students at the senior school, no electricity to support the learning and teaching of sciences and other disciplines, senior school level is being taught by high teacher certificate trainees. The borehole is located 10 meters away from the toilet facilities. Committee's observations. The upgraded senior secondary school lack graduate and competent teachers to run the available fields of study. The absence of basic amenities that support learning of science and technology, low capacity for the borehole, inadequate structure to cater for the growing numbers of enrollment, leaking and dilapidated structures. Nyanga Bantang Lower Basic School. The principal, together with his staff, reported the following challenges: deplorable and dilapidated staff quarters unfit for human habitation, teachers sleep in classrooms during heavy downpour, low enrollment due to the notion that girls' child is more appropriate to conventional schools, lack of clean drinking water with the school premise, and the prevalence of water contamination from rust due to the nature of the hand pump. E, poor conditions of toilet facilities. F, inadequate teaching staff and technical teachers. G, women transporting their children from a long distance with the use of donkey carts. Committee observations: the need for immediate construction of a staff quarters to avoid the risk and disaster of sleeping under structures that are likely to collapse in no time. Njao Basic Cycle. The principal, together with his teachers, reported that some of the classes lack teaching and learning materials, lack of staff quarters to accommodate and retain staff, lack of clean drinking water and electricity, the lack of school fences, which makes students and staff prone to the adverse effects of Hamatan wind, E, inadequate toilet facilities. Then our committee's observation: lack of adequate toilet facilities resulting in staff sharing toilets with students, lack of solar power electricity to advance the education of science and technology. 16, Chairman Lower Basic School and Chairman Lower Basic and Senior Secondary School. The principal, together with the senior management team, highlighted the following challenges: early marriage as a causative factor for low rate of enrollment, difficulties in retaining students at senior school, lack of electricity that advances the students on science, lack of electricity that advances the education of science and technology, the high rate of student transfers and inadequate graduate teachers. E, the school lacks the necessities that qualifies as senior secondary school. F, inadequate classroom to accommodate the growing demand of enrollment, more particularly the lower sector. Committee's observation: low storage capacity for the existing borehole tank. B, inadequate classroom blocks. C, posting graduate teachers to handle senior secondary schools. D, low enrollment in the senior secondary school. E, no fence around the school. And F, inadequate facilities. General recommendations: to ensure schools have more money on SIG, all ECD pupils should be captured in the nominal roll of their respective schools. 2, all upgraded basic schools should be furnished with sufficient classrooms and furniture before they are operational. 3, there is need to increase the number of teaching staff, especially graduate teachers, to ease the load of the other teachers. 4, schools need to be fenced to avoid animals to disrupt lessons and reduce the adverse effects of the Hamatan wind on students. 5, the construction of staff quarters to accommodate and retain young teachers. 6, building of staff quarters and toilet facilities for the teachers should be a priority for MAPSI and should be included in their annual budget. 7, there is a need to build science labs in all upgraded schools to strengthen the education of science and technology. These labs must be equipped with relevant materials. 8, there is a need to expand the post-solar power projects in all schools to advance the teaching of science and technology. So we have the committee members. This was these activities were carried out during the 5th legislature, and the committee members are Honorable Yaya Gassama, Honorable Ahajimbo, Honorable Sekuba Jaju, Honorable Ablai Sise, Honorable Afuseni Sise, Honorable Seni Toure, Honorable Alhaji Dabo, Honorable Sida Jata, Honorable Mohamed Mahanera, Honorable Bakar Njai, Mr. Seku O. M. Diba, Subject Matter Specialist, Ms. Aisat Sonko, Committee Clerk, Mr. Amadou A. M. Ba, Committee Clerk, Mr. Mamadou A. M. Ba, Committee Clerk, Mr. Modika Ba, Research Officer, Mr. Babakar Diouf, GTU CCU, Mr. Issa So, MAPSI, Mr. Musa Sar, Red, Basse, Mr. Abdouba, Red, Basse, Mr. Janko Jaoune, Red, Basse. Then we have the name of the honorable members on the select committee. Of course, these are Yaya Gassama Chairperson, Alajimbo Vice Chair, Honorable Sida Jata, member. Honorable Aseni Sise, member. Honorable Matar Jem, member. Honorable Bakanjai, member. Honorable Mohamed Mahanera, member. Honorable Seni Toure, member. Honorable Fakeba Enel Koli, late member. Honorable Osman Toure, member. Honorable Sekuba Jaju, member. Honorable Ablai Sise, member. Honorable Ndeye Yasin Seka, member. Honorable Alhaji Sankun Jammeh, member. Honorable Alhaji Dabo, member. Honorable Alhaji S. Dabo, member. Honorable Mohamed Magasi, member. The subject matter specialists were Mr. Seku O.M. Diba and Mr. Momar M. Samba. Secretaries were Ms. Aset Sonko, Mamadou A.M. Ba, Mudika Ba. Then the aides were Babakar Seka, Jamila Udum, Pamudu Ann, and Mrs. Awasao. With this, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you. Any seconder? The member for Latikunda Savi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I just want to advise the National Assembly when we prepare reports, especially committee
Any
reports.
seconder?
Yeah, I moved to second. Very much. When we write committee reports, it will be very nice for all the institutions we visited to sit here so that they can hear the recommendations that comes from them. I will start with the University of the Gambia for their lack of instituting governing council for the longest time. In the full disclosure of facts, governing council is very, very important for the affairs of any university. So this is telling us how unserious our institutions are, especially the University of the Gambia, for failing to institute this most important part of the administration. And it's also telling us the extent of how we are not serious as people to properly manage our institutions. So I will advise the University of the Gambia through higher educations to institute this most important aspect of their administration. Now, I will also move to the procurement process of the institutions visited. For me, I don't understand why the committee will recommend to tell us that compliant, when you visit an institution, only 79% committed to procurement rules, even 98% of procurement rules, you cannot call that compliance. Because for me, that 2% can cost the government of the Gambia, can cost taxpayers millions of dollars or dollars. So if you visit any institution that is not, whose performance or whose commitment to procurement rules is only 90%, 98%, 99%, if it is not 100%, we cannot call that compliance. This is utter nonsense and a very misguided statement. Now, I will move to Njao Opa, is it page 78? Is Naube Lower Basic School. Lack of access to clean drinking water, a school that was established in 1981. I think it is high time politicians, we start to respect our voters and we start to be committed to the affairs of our voters. Then recall, a school that was built in 1981. I was born in 1981. Lack of access to clean drinking water is still a problem in that school. I think Gambians should start to stop paying tax and to vote politicians into the office. I think the citizens of this country, is high time that they stop voting and they stop paying tax. If you are not serious to their affairs, a school established in 1981, 2023 is still not, doesn't have access to clean drinking water, and we want to call ourselves a very serious politician and a very serious country. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the member for Latikunda. It has been moved and seconded that this Honorable Assembly do consider the Consolidated Report of the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT on public institutions from 2017 to 2020 and its visit to schools on hard-to-reach areas in CRR and URR in July 2022. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Any honorable member who wishes to take part may do so, in the debate may do so now by raise of tag. The honorable member for Kiang West.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable former Chairperson, Select Committee on Education, and the mover of the motion. Honorable members who took part in this successful exercise that you've carried out, the committee clerks that accompanied you, the subject matter specialists, and the representatives from the various institutions who accompanied you to carry out this exercise. I would first thank you to say thank you very much for this great job. It has not been easy to trek up from here down to various regions in the country, farthest schools in the country, from lower basics, upper basics and senior secondary schools, to check the condition of the teachers, students, learning environment, teaching and learning materials and all that. It's not been easy. You've done justice to teachers from the report, you've done justice to students from the report, and I think this is well informed. This can definitely allow the National Assembly members to make an informed decision as per the condition of teachers and students as well. My take about this report, first, it would have been very important if we know the condition of these schools as it stands today, because the report stated since on the 13th of July. So when we know the condition of these schools, this will definitely allow us to be very fair in our deliberation. But then generally, it's a very, very poor condition as far as teaching and learning is concerned. So I believe education system is crippled in the country because of such issues. Every other school that you've talked about here, teaching and learning material is a constraint. Classroom blocks are constrained. Accommodation for teachers is constrained. Poor drinking water is a constraint. Poor sanitary materials are all constrained. So how do we expect the future of this country to be better? When at grassroots, where we need to build the country, it's not doing well. Teachers are sleeping openly in classrooms. Teachers sleeping in classrooms, given that little remuneration that is given to them. We expect them to get into class and deliver well. They're exposed to infections, they're exposed to diseases. Having experienced that condition, you get to classrooms, you don't have proper teaching and learning materials to help the students to understand what is being taught. And the other situation is when you get to some senior secondary schools in the country, where the teachers are complaining about the difficulties in retaining the students in those senior secondary schools. I think it's high time for us to be fair to students. We have sharp students in the hinterlands, in the provincial areas of this country, who wish to study science, who wish to be doctors, who wish to be engineers, who wish to be lawyers. And their senior secondary schools are not equipped. They don't have a science lab. So we are depriving students to pursue their future dreams. So obviously they don't have any choice but to trek down to urban areas and find schools where they can definitely have good science lab and pursue their future dreams. So what is more important is for the government, before they upgrade schools, they do a proper feasibility study, what is feasible in those schools, and what is possible at that material point in time to ensure that when students are retained in the school, they are able to do what they want to do. Because you cannot force me to do art when I want to do science in future, when I want to be a medical doctor. At the end of the day, I will not have a basis, even though when I get to tertiary level, I would love to divert. I will not have a basis. And this will disturb me in the long run. So I think the government should look at, or education should look at, upgradement of schools. Before you upgrade a school to senior secondary school, you don't even have a single graduate in that school to teach students. And sometimes you will have lower basic students in certain basic size schools who will be rotating to upper basic schools to teach. I've experienced that during my days when I was teaching. I was trained on lower basic during my days before to upper basic, and I was overlapping to some upper basic classes because there was no enough teachers to teach. And this has a lot of consequences on coverage of curriculums, teachers' understanding of curriculums, and teachers' understanding of what is students' understanding of what is being taught. So it's high time for education to look at situations before they upgrade schools to upper basics and senior secondary schools. They do a proper feasibility study to ensure that we have enough teachers to teach. Upper basic school, we know that HTC students supposed to teach in upper basic schools. And for senior secondary school, you need to at least be a graduate to teach in senior secondary school. So those things should be put in place. We have enough teachers who are trained for upper basic schools, enough teachers who are trained for senior secondary school in order for us to retain our brothers and our sisters in those schools. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to force our brothers and sisters to stay in those schools when there is not enough teaching and learning materials. Teachers in those schools are not meant for those grade levels. Obviously, it will be very difficult. Even though we manage, our children will not definitely get what they're supposed to get. So I think upgradement of schools need to be looked at. It's a general issue, it's a cross-cutting issue in the country. The other thing that I would love to talk about when it comes to some of the lower basic schools is a congestion, classroom congestion. The learning environment will never be conducive for learning when the classroom is congested. It's in an ECD classroom, that is early childhood development classroom, where there are 50 children, 50 of them. Go look at the condition of those classrooms. The most difficult classroom to manage is the ECD classroom, the most difficult classroom to manage. Sometimes some kids will come, some kids will urinate on themselves, some kids sometimes defecate in classrooms. So how do you manage, how do you, think a single teacher can take care of these 50 kids in classroom? Some are 4 years, some are 3 and above, some are 5, some are 6, all in the same classroom. So I think the problem of these issues are lack of enough classrooms or inadequate classrooms that we have, and inadequate teachers that we have in schools. So I think the time has come for education to be serious about issues of education. Otherwise, the level of education in this country today, the future is at stake, to be honest. The future is really at stake. And the other thing, before I conclude, I would love to talk about, for tertiary institutions, I would love to talk about the Gambia College. On the recommendations, there is an area where you've talked about the enrollment, to enroll teachers with minimum requirement, your recommendation on the Gambia College. This is a major problem that we are facing. Students will apply Gambia College on the HTC. You don't have HTC, you go behind the scene to negotiate, and they use us as authorities to go and negotiate for their enrollments without requirement. I think we, the authorities, we definitely should desist ourselves from this. If we are making laws here, if we are complaining about issues here, when our brothers and sisters do not have requirement, and they applied for schools, Gambia College rejects them. They will come back to us to go and negotiate on their behalf so that they can be enrolled. So let's try our best ability to desist from that. Because they will enroll teachers with no credits. We got evidences of this when I was in college. They said you must have 4 credits with 2 passes in order for you to be enrolled in HTC. At least 2 passes and 2 credits and 4 passes for you to be enrolled in PTC, now called Diploma in Education and Advanced Diploma in Education. But you were in class with students who do not even have a credit, who has 1 pass or 2 passes. How do you expect those teachers to get something and get back to students and impact something to them? No wonder the students can go up to grade 12, they cannot write a simple letter. The teachers who are teaching them do not know. How can they know? I think it's high time for education to be serious if we want this country to be better tomorrow. Once this level is not better, and the curriculum is a major problem. The curriculum is a major problem. And Mr. Chair, I think this will be my last area of intervention. During COVID-19, there was distance learning. Millions of dollars were committed on this distance learning, online teaching, on radios and televisions. How do students in Bolivana that we've talked about today access these lessons? Their fathers are taxpayers. They are part of the resources in this country. How do students access this? This was a major challenge. And I think education has to revisit this, committing millions of dollars on distance learning, radios and televisions. We still have communities in this country who do not have access to electricity, who in fact hand their cell phones in order for them to make calls. How do you expect them to tune a radio to listen to the lessons? And their fathers' resources, the resources that they are part of, was committed to this. I think this is unfair. This is unfair to the children who resides in those hinterlands. All what they do is they were sitting at homes. They cannot have access to, to the lessons at that point in time. So I think that issue has to be revisited to ensure that when we are organizing distance learning, we factor the children at the hinterlands to ensure that they are also catered for. It has to be inclusive and it has to be participatory. Otherwise, the development is meaningless. And to the asset registers about the tertiary institutions. I think that is not unique to only the tertiary institutions. Generally, even if you look at the reports that is coming from other institutions in the country, public enterprises, you talk about even the government subsectors, the asset register is a major problem in this country. This is why we cannot establish the total resources that this country has. Nobody can tell us. Even the Minister of Finance cannot tell you the total value of the assets that we have and the total assets that we have, because they are not registered. This is a major problem unless the authorities see it very serious and we put the mechanisms in place so that we can know the total value of assets that we have, and we cannot know that without registering our assets. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Thank you very much, Member for Kiang West. I now recognize the member for Joshua.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I will start by thanking the then chair of the committee with his team for a job well done on this report. He went around the whole country to come up with a very good report. Thank you very much. Some of you who are here and some who are no more with us, they were here for a reason, and this report has shown that they were here to fulfill their mandate as committee members. Honorable Speaker, yes, it's a report, but I think that would have been very good with regards to the current Committee on Education to have a follow-up with regards to this report, because it's from 2017 to 2020, and we had a rollout. I think most committee went on a rollout. the rollout should have been a follow-up on this report, whether most of the recommendations were being done or were met. Because we have seen some auditor report that we are given recommendations from the auditors. We don't know whether they were met or not. I think, it would have been very fair, had that those things were done, we could have based our engagement on that. But notwithstanding, we still come up with little input we feel that it should be done, and then share with the current committee. If they go back, let them go and assess properly to see whether those demands were met. Honorable Speaker, I think we're just from a budget less than a week. And then most of these recommendations in these reports indicates that all what they are crying comes to development. And looking at the education, budget, 96% of the budget goes to PEs, only 4% goes to development. So it's like development is a necessity. It's very, very necessary, it's very, very key in this sector, and we only have 4% of it from this budget. So this is why I think it's next time, being the education committee or any other committee, when reports are sent to you, we have to look at it properly and base our engagement, and also look at what we are planning to give out or approve as a budget for those ministries, for those line ministries. 4%. All the recommendations: lack of furniture, no classroom, no staff quarters. These are all what? Part of development. These are structures that need to be taken care of, structures that needs to be repaired, and new structures that needs to come in place. So, for me, the budget should have been a little bit higher than it is, and then it should have been either 60-40 on PEs and then development, so that these issues raised here could have been tackled easily. But as I said, we cannot say much about the report because there was no follow-up. But, Honorable Speaker, one or two speakers made mention of it. I think it is high time now the issue of clean drinking water, especially in school, should be a thing of the past now. Because we do hear reports of people giving out donations to boreholes, building boreholes to communities. Yes, it is good to build boreholes to communities, but the kids at the schools are also important. They are part of the community. And these people, you have very young ones who don't even know whether it is drinkable or not. For them, what they say is, I'm thirsty, I need to drink. So I think, Honorable Speaker, with the current committee, when you go back, the first thing that you need to look at is the first point of call is about the access to clean drinking water. That's a necessity to every living human being who is in this country, to have access to clean drinking water. But I have seen a report on clean drinking water, and then that's why I say I cannot say much about it because there is no other follow-up report. What I'm also recommending to the current committee, when you go out on your own, please follow up this recommendation. Make it as a follow-up. Use it as your guideline to go back to these schools, whether all these recommendations that were mentioned here are being done or not. I think that's what I've been giving us the way out to know where we are heading to. But notwithstanding, Honorable Speaker, the minister is not here, but maybe he will get the report. I think next time when they are coming, let them give us a budget that will definitely be based on development oriented. Because to be honest with you, yes, schools are being built. There are many people here in this country building schools for Gambians. But let's also look at the issue of building schools. Yes, we build. But after building, what comes next? Before spending millions in building a structure for an area, people living in the far east of this country might not even need a structure. They need a structure that needs to be renovated. They need a structure that can keep the accommodation, that can solve the accommodation crisis. They need a structure that can help. But if you want to base all our structure within the greater Banjul area, because maybe there are feasible areas, there are accessible areas, for us to say Sirif Sar did this based on his philanthropies, I think it's important we look at the way they are coming to the Gambia. We assess them and tell them our needs. That a school in Joshua needs a structure, or they need a borehole than a structure. Let's categorize our needs and prioritize those needs based on what is coming. But if they come with structures, we say we need structures. And there are other schools that they don't need structures. They need something far better than structures. So please, Honorable Speaker, I think we need to go back to the drawing board, talk to our line ministries, and those coming also when they come in, if they sit with them, let them prioritize the areas that we feel that they are very, very important and very, very necessary. And this, coming to my last intervention, to the committee again, this was a job well done, Honorable Chair and your team. To be honest, you did a very good job. But the current chair, I'm also advising him to get this report back and then go back on the rollout to see whether things recommended were being done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, member for Joshua. I now recognize the member for Woolly East.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Let me thank the former chairperson of the Education Committee and his team for taking all the trouble to get to all these institutions and to hard-reach areas to find out what the situation is on the ground as regards education in this country. Honorable Speaker, the report is in twofold. One is on public institutions from 2017 to 2020, and the second one is visit to hard-reach areas, and particularly CRR and URR. I believe the report has definitely done justice to the circumstances that we are experiencing in the country. Honorable Speaker, I would recommend that this type of report should have been a tool during the bilaterals. All the issues that have been mentioned here, if the committee on education, while they meet the Ministry of Education, table this report during that period and discuss it, they may be able to, allocate resources to address some of these peculiar problems that schools are encountering in different places. For example, all the schools they have visited, their findings, the difficulties there, could have been addressed by the education budget. Because that education budget is $3 billion. So where you can minimize to be able to get some resources would be useful. Honorable Speaker, the institutions complying 50% compliant in relation to procurement is not a very commendable thing. And I believe that something fundamentally is wrong when an institution is 50% compliant. Because 50% compliant means that so many things are not in order. So we need to ensure that we push them to become more and more compliant. And I believe that the recommendations that are made by the committee to even review some of those laws is important. Honorable Speaker, I believe that the committee should also find out by now, maybe they should be able to inform us, whether the permanent governing council is now established at the college. I think it's the college. Is it established or is it still blank? Because UTG, as the report said, should desist from courses, offering courses, without the NACA recommending for those courses. Because, Honorable Speaker, we want quality education, but we also want appropriate education. What does the country need? What is more important for this country? That's what we are looking for. It's not learning for the sake of learning. When universities are, offering courses, they should be important for the development of this country. They should be appropriate for the development challenges that we have. But if it is just a course for the sake of course, that is not very useful. That's why I think the recommendation is very important that NACA recommends and the universities or colleges, offer. Honorable Speaker, the other report is that you have schools or institutions without labs. That means that they are only dependent on chalk and blackboard. Chalk and blackboard learning is just theory, and theory without practice is very viral. So it is important that we look at all those institutions that do not have labs and ensure that they have labs. Because, Honorable Speaker, learning without practice. Let me give you an example. It's like somebody learning computer science but does not have a computer. So everything is being mentioned. The person will just pass an exam on theory. But if you ask the person to operate a computer, the person will not be able to send an email. So that is a very useless type of learning, if I may use that. Honorable Speaker, labs are very important. The reason why, we are not making much progress technologically is because we desist or we are not careful about using labs to experiment. Our students must be experimenting to be able to learn something authentic. If you don't experiment, you will not know the inner, challenges in a situation. You will not be able to understand it wholeheartedly. Let me give you an example again. If you have the apprentice at the mechanical, shops, the fitter garages, small boys, who have never gone to school, and all the parts of the vehicles, they know it in their own language. If it is Karansaf, Karansafo, they understand all these things. All the joints. So within 10 years, those students can dismantle a machine, an engine, put all the right parts there again, fit it back, and put it on, and the machine will go. But you have our university graduates who have gone to learn mechanical engineering in universities, and when they come, they cannot open a machine, they cannot dismantle it, they cannot fit it back. They have no idea how to do that. But if you tell them theoretically, they can tell you everything about the engine. But if you tell them to do it physically, they cannot do anything. So you can see the two examples of learning. So our students in our universities, especially those dealing with science, must have labs, and they must continue to do experimentation in those labs. An example is the periodic table. When I was going to high school in Canada, I mastered the periodic table. Not only mastered the periodic table, every chemical those numbers represent, we have it physically with us. If you show it to me, I can say, this is this, this is this, this is this, this. And if you mix these two, you will get this, and this is the result. But in Gambia, when people go and study chemistry, they master the periodic table in the head, but they have no experience as to physically what those chemicals are. And therefore, they will be passing exams without having understanding of the science. Honorable Speaker, the other institution is the NCCE. The NCCE is a very important institution, and it should not be forgotten. The NCCE should not be forgotten because it has an important role to play, especially in the democratic process of this country. We must not forget that enlightening the Gambian citizenry to understand their civic rights is one of the key impediments to progress in this country. If people don't know their rights, people don't know how to go about doing things, people don't understand their constitution, which binds them. Because it's a constitution. Without you understanding the constitution, it's like being in a CAFO, in an organization, without understanding the rules of the CAFO. So everybody in this country should have a better grasp of the Gambia constitution and other laws. For example, if we talk about, people blame, there is a lot of blame game on young people insulting in the media, people insulting each other, people attacking each other, because they don't know the laws. I can just get up and say, Honorable Bakari, I can say something bad about him, just because somebody told me, without me having any evidence. But I believe the person who told me, not knowing that I'm defaming that person. So we must have a continuous education of the people in their own languages. And NCCE is established to do that. But if NCCE is engaging in education, and as the report said, they don't even have a monitoring team. They don't have personnel to monitor whether there is progress in their enlightenment process, or there is no progress, or there is little progress, or what is the level of progress. They don't have, so they must fill all those positions. And we must provide the funds for NCC to do, because most of the institutions in this country that are working, NCCE is more important than those ones. Even what we are saying here, if the NCC is properly put in place, they could have taken some of these laws that we are ratifying here, go to the people and educate them on those laws. Honorable Speaker, Gambian people are the owners of this country. They are the owners of this wealth. And whatever we do with this wealth, it should be useful to those Gambian people. Otherwise, we are just wasting resources. So impact must be assessed. Honorable Speaker, the report also said loans were given to staff. In some instances, up to 90% of their salary is deducted from their salary. You know that it's important to give loans to people, but you must also assess their earning capacity. The rate that you are going to be deducted must be reasonable. But if we deduct 90%, that person will not be, I don't believe will have a bigger impact in his job place. Because if I am deducted 90% of my salary at the end of the month, my preoccupation will be to spend all my time looking for koparandawal, fish money, so that my family will not die of hunger. So my mind is not on the work. I may be there, but my mind is not there. Here and there, I leave the room. Look at this. Look at your house. It's empty. And these are good salary earners in the country. But they are leaving to solve problems outside. Imagine if an ordinary person who is in an employment, you've deducted him or her 90%. That person will not stay on that job. Will be interested in staying at the job, but will not be able to perform. Will continuously be moving about, trying to make ends meet. Honorable Speaker, at schools, water. The Honorable Member for Kiang West have already said that, and I adopt that. I have a very nasty experience with this. I keep on reporting Gunjur Koto primary school water problem to the regional education department on a continuous basis, but nothing come out of it. Every time there is a promise, but then when you go back to the school, you find it in the same situation. I come to learn that from your trip, it's almost the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. These problems could have been addressed by us if we did not put the reports aside. But ensure that when they come to do bilateral, we put the report before them and say these things must be addressed before we adopt your budget for you. So we'll work together to ensure that money is put in the necessary places to ensure that these problems are solved. I think this is one of the methods that we must start adopting. But all the same, since the report came at this time, I believe that the committee should endeavor and still meet the ministry, the authorities, to put these things before them in a committee level to ensure that, here and there they can, manage to solve some of these key peculiar problems in some of these hard-to-reach areas. Because they are hard-to-reach areas, even the authorities at the regional level find it difficult to move to these schools because they know the trouble that it takes. And we all know you go to this department and say, we don't have vehicle, we don't have fuel, we don't have this. So unless they are really, really committed, they will not be able to sacrifice and move to these places. But if you put it to them through a meeting and show them that this is a very serious matter, maybe they will still. I know Gunjur Kuta in my constituency, the way I left it, water situation is still the same situation. Even though the report is late, but I know the situation is the same. And all members can do that in their constituency to see whether what the report is saying about your place is still the same or it's not the same, or whether there is an improvement, and inform the committee so that the committee can take it up. On that note, I thank you for all the job that you have done, and thank the Speaker for the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Woolly East. And I'm sorry the Chair is noting your concern. If you had allocated that 8 million to 25 boreholes in 25 schools, that would have been great. Now, I recognize the member for Lower Badibu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. First of all, I would like to thank my brother and colleague, Honorable Yaya Gassama, who was the chair of the committee then, for the job well done. Honorable Speaker, the report on this, in this document, most especially the schools that are in URR and CRR, they've given a lot of norm complaint to the team, that's education, during their visit to those schools in that area. Honorable Speaker, the problems that we are highlighted in the report, I can tell you 3/4 of the problems are yet to be solved. And this report was from 2017 to 2020. Let us ask ourselves, why is it that the problems that we are highlighted before these people, 3/4 of it are yet to be solved? Why? 2, is it that it is due to inadequate funding to the education sector or what? That's the second question, that norm I am putting before the deputies. And Honorable Speaker, I have a suggestion here. That is, every year before budgeting, I would like this August Assembly to, of course, invite various ministries we engage them on their performance before giving them that huge amount of money. Each and every one of them should be given a form, should be given funding, proper funding, based on their performance. If we realize that this social ministry is not performing well, I think we should advise the government to give a margin order to that particular, to the head of that particular ministry. That is the minister. That's my suggestion. A lot of funding is being given to no education. Yet still, the situation of the schools 3 years ago are the same problems that we found in some of those schools. When we, of course, make our visit only a month ago. If at all we are improving, we should know it. To me, we are not improving. Instead of going forward, the schools are going backward. In most of the schools that we visited, the problems that are highlighted here are the same problems that are existing in those schools. Honorable Speaker, it's so pathetic to us. I believe that if we are progressing, the committee responsible of education should do it during our visit. If we are retrograding also, we should know it. But to me, instead of going forward, we are going backward, or we are stagnant at one place, which is not to the development of our education. Honorable Speaker, this particular document has highlighted so many issues, which includes lack of teaching and learning materials in our schools. I'm a member in that committee. The schools that we have, we visited, most of the schools, of course, highlighted the same issues to us. Lack of teaching and learning materials, inadequate classrooms, as well as lack of toilet facilities in almost all the schools that we have visited. And no funding is being given to the Ministry of Education. I don't know whether the funding is not enough or there is no funding completely. Because in my area, like I said before, during my contribution here, the schools which were hit by windstorm, those schools are still in that poor situation. Nothing has been done in those schools. If you visit schools in that area, the number one problem that they will tell you is our teachers don't have accommodation. 2, we don't have enough textbooks. 3, lack of toilets. 4, above all, the structures are not, the roofing is not there. And of course, lack of structures. Where are we heading to if we don't pay great attention to our education? We expect us to become a great nation. There's no way that we can achieve much. The only thing Gambia can excel is to give priority to education. Education is key. The reason all of us are here, we are not speaking Bandiga, all of Naida, Jola or Fula. All of us are trying in English here. And we want this country to be the best. If we want Gambia to be the best, please let government invest heavily into this area, education. Most of the schools, honestly speaking, are in poor shapes. This is why people who are better off, or who are at least better, financially I mean, will prefer to send their kids to private schools. That means already there is segregation between the poor or the haves and the have-nots. That's the hard part. And there should not like segregation in this area. And the people who are in control of the national cake are the people sending their kids to private schools at the detriment of public schools. No wonder our education is in this shape. I'm sorry. Gambians, by our nature, we are selfish. That's the fact. If we are not selfish, we will give great attention to public schools, because most of the Gambians, bulk of Gambians are sending their kids to these public schools. Why should we give a blind eye to public schools? This is what is happening. I wish and pray the situation will change, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. It's so pathetic. I am urging the Ministry of Education to try and do their level best to change the narratives. I know the permanent secretary is ready for it, until and unless there is no funding to that particular department. But because we engage the permanent secretary, he has a lot of things for our education. Honorable Speaker, on that note, I rest my case here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, member for Lower Badibu. I now give the floor to the member for Combo East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. First of all, I must thank the Select Committee for Education ICT, the entire membership that are listed below the report, and to commend them for the job well done, which will be contrary to what my colleague said, utter nonsense. This report could not be mentioned as utter nonsense. This has been utmost best for members to be giving such a magnificent report to update on the situations that schools are encountering in places hard to reach. It's very important to recommend hard works than to underrate hard works. We are all members that are doing our oversight functions equally and efficiently. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I'm here to extend my gratitude to the mover of the motion, Honorable Gassama, who has doubled to be the former chairman of the same committee in trying to dig out from the rural Gambia, which is an evident. We've proven the report that all that has been stated in this report is fact. It's something of reality. It's something with substance. And I urge this House, all members, to consider and help implement the recommendations of the committee to make sure that schools are improved. I know teachers are doing their best in the rural areas, especially hard-to-reach places in the URR and CRR, which we've witnessed. In that, a motivating part of it is to make sure that we cater for this to improve their own living conditions and situations that students are in. If not, this would lead to an underqualified society in the near future, because teachers are getting disgruntled, students are becoming hopeless, and in order to restore this for a better nation is to make provisions to consider these recommendations. I can only adjust into remind the committee to at least inform us upon their observations in other schools, like there were some observations in a school in the CRR on page page 33, number 13, Karantaba Lower and Upper Basic School. The report stated that there were some observations, as in there was a borehole dug 10 meters by the toilet facilities, which in a rural place of that status could be very catastrophic in terms of hygiene, using clean and potable drinking water to students. Imagine if the proximity is that close, the waters are expected to be contaminated, and contaminated waters could lead to other viral diseases or, yes, viral diseases that could lead to an effect on the health conditions of people within, students within that school. So I would suggest the committee to come up with a recommendation in that effect, and that let this recommendation be implemented in as soon as possible to remedy, to mitigate those risks that these guys are to encounter. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I would urge this House to thoroughly take this report seriously and consider the recommendations laid before members to make sure that situations are improved. On that note, I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Combo East. Now I give the floor to the member for Fonyi Bintang Kranai.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the platform. The problems are the same, and they still remain. I am happy that the former chair clearly stated all the constraints that are faced by the school, and I will definitely like to thank him for that. To start with, some of the members have elaborated on the budget for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, which is 3 billion. I said it here. The 3 billion, when you look at it, only 4% out of the 3 billion is going for development. Now, everything apart from that goes to what? Goes to PE, personal emolument. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education have over 24,000 teachers throughout the country. Which of the ministries have the same PE? So this is what we should be looking at, I believe. The reason as to why we still face similar problems or the same problem constantly is because the government is not investing in education. Or little investment is given to basic and secondary or higher education. Looking at drinking water still remains a problem. Who is responsible? Staff quarters still remains a problem. Who is responsible? Teachers are not in certain schools, especially hard-to-reach schools. Who is responsible? Or what is the reason as to why they are not there? Looking at furniture still remains a problem. The fence, the schools are not fenced. These are the problems that the people highlighted. And to my very surprise, these very chambers only allocate $8 million is extra fund to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. This is why I voted for no, because I was not happy with the allocation at all. $20 million is to the Office of the President for the extra allocation. You are telling me about seriousness and commitment. You are telling me about the importance of education. We can't understand those things. And I will always vote against such a thing. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, which have the highest human resources, allocated $8 million. How are you going to tackle these burning issues? These are not figments. These are realities that are on the ground. When it comes to clean drinking water, we are in the 21st century, if I am correct. I don't think this should be an issue. If you come down to staff quarters, whenever teachers are posted to schools, the first thing they ask is there any staff quarters in the area? If there is no staff quarter, they decline. They will start to run from one corner to the other. And they will try to connect. And they will try to change their posting. In their last option, that's the time they go to those schools. When they have no other option, when they could not move out of those schools. But most of the time, they succeed. This is why teachers are not, at times, teachers are not enough in those schools. simply because they ask whether they are staff quarters or not. I believe every school that is in the provinces should have staff quarters. That's my belief. And in the budget, how prepared are we to even construct one staff quarters? It's not even there. And we're still talking about the allocation for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. If you talk about the human resources, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, you cannot compare it with the Ministry of Agriculture. But we sat here and allocate 40 million for the Ministry of Agriculture, giving 8 million to the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. What is the justification towards those issues? It's a miscalculation, honestly. So the staff quarters per se, we can do a lot about those things. Because as I always say, that child that is going to Gambia High is not that better than that child that is going to Amite Senior Secondary School. That child that is going to Latrikunda Lower Basic is not better than that child that is going to Bolibana. We must cross-check everything, especially during budgeting, to allocate funds properly. And when we are to allocate funds, we need to know the reason as to why we are allocating funds. The Constitution is clear in its statement. Section 217, subsection 1 clearly states that the state shall endeavor to provide basic education for all. And how can you provide basic education for all when you concentrating on only those that are in the urban areas, live in the rural areas? Some of these teachers in the hard service schools, they suffer. For me, I was posted 1 year to those schools, and I could not cope. After that year, I have to run back. And so as many other teachers will do the same thing. You have to run away. Yes. So now, those that are willing, those that are determined, those that want to go there, what do we do for them? That is the question that remains unanswered. The issue of fencing the schools. We could not have enough classrooms, talk less of fencing the schools. Some of the classrooms are overpopulated. And if a class is overpopulated, what happens? The students lose concentration. The teacher will be unable to mark all the scripts. So these are various things that we are faced with. And this applies to all the schools in the country. Most of the time, the classes are overloaded. You expect one teacher to mark the work of 60 or 70 students in a class, which is so sad indeed. I think we need to revive everything. Coming down to the issue of NCCE, the National Council for Civic Education is that body that is responsible for educating our citizens. Let us ask ourselves, how educated are our citizens? The people don't know this constitution, and the ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So we are ready. This is why mile 2 is full, and this is why mile 7 is full. What are we doing with our NCC? How are they educating our people? They only know that they are against law, or they have violated the constitution only when they are taken to prison. So what are we going to do with NCC? Because I, for one, I was blaming NCCE before then. But when they appear before us and explain their constraint before us, we definitely know that the government did not empower them for them to do their work as expected. So we should do whatever it takes to empower NCCE. And this is the house that can do that. And in the allocation of public fund, it still remains the same. So not 2023 will we empower them, maybe 2024. Or we rethink and come back to the table. Going down to the issue of the Gambia College, as highlighted, these are issues. Some of them are tackled, some of them are not yet addressed. And it is collectively when we can do that. I think the issue of scholarship also was mentioned here. The scholarship, I am happy that we did allocate 15 million to the Ministry of Higher Education. That will not solve the problem, but at least will be better. On that note, I call all the honorable members here to help your brothers and sisters who are in the crusades, who are struggling to achieve the Gambia we want. And long live the teachers of the country, long live those tireless serving teachers throughout the country. On that note, I thank you all.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Fonyi Bintang. I now recognize the member for Fonyi Jarol.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I think Honorable Bakar Baji today, I'll call him doctor, because I learned a lot from him. Education is a very important component. And I must start by commending the previous Education Committee for a job well done. You've done your part, you've made your observations, the committee has made good observations and recommendations considering good management practices and the best financial management practices. So I cannot go beyond this. I'm not part of the committee. The only challenges we have in this country is we don't really mean who we are. We sometimes only speak to satisfy people. And this is not only about government, because whatever the case, we have to be honest to ourselves. The past years, because we are looking at 2015 up to 2018, some of you in the committee, you visited the schools, and then you found no kings. And that does not mean that there were no budgets allocated. But have you found anything there that has changed the narrative? I would say no. So if we sit here blaming, sometimes they blame the National Assembly or we blame the authorities. We are here to make check and balances, and then we make our approvals. We are not the ones holding the funds to make the implementation. The implementation is the biggest challenge of this country. And then we always want to take credit when sometimes the credit is not yours, and then we don't want to take blame. And in leadership, sometimes you have to be ready to take for blames because you cannot satisfy everyone. So it's not that the government has done nothing. They have allocated funds. And then there are people responsible. But if you go to these schools, you will not know even where these funds are. And then we start sometimes blaming the wrong people. It is just only that the people who are supposed to hold those people accountable don't take action. And we are in the 21st century, where some of the things mentioned or highlighted in the report should be history. This is why I say that for this country to move forward, all of us has to be ready for it. Just like the debate that we are from. There are people just releasing audios to say that they are not part of those who say yes. But you are a National Assembly member. You cannot reject any decision that the majority have taken here. Me, I'm ready to take any blame that the majority have gone in for it. I cannot dodge away to go release audios. I'm not there. Just to end up we ourselves blaming each other and insulting each other instead of concentrating on the burning issues of this country. The country is going through a lot of challenges. Every institution you have seen, something is just lacking. We should be ready to work as a team, be ready to take challenges, complaints or blames, and then be ready also to take credits. I don't expect Fonyi Garol, every time I speak here or any decision that I made here, everyone to support me. Anytime you want to satisfy everyone, you end up satisfying no one. So people who are cowards will always make this one here and then go out to tell the people that I am not part of this because they don't want to be blamed, and you must be blamed. Let's stop that what I would call it. Sorry, maybe I don't want to use that language. But we have to be brave enough. This is why I don't just come here to be dictated by someone. Anytime there is something that needs to be tabled here, I have to make my research. I have to find out from people. And then in finding out from people, you're going to receive different comments. Not all the people that you are going to make your research are going to tell you yes. Some will tell you yes, some will tell you no. There is no way we're going to agree 100% on everything. Even in my family, when I propose something today, what are we going to cook? Some will say benaki, some will say nyankatan. We go into different choices. But at the end, maybe the majority. That's why they say the beauty of democracy is about the majority agreeing to one thing. Let's stop that game of blaming others and then you putting aside. Because if we start that, I'm not happy what happened these days. If I start going out to blame somebody, the next minute somebody blame, we'll end up now focusing on each other instead of focusing on the national issue. Let's be ready to take bold decisions. You know, in leadership, what makes it more challenging is about taking decisions. Because the decision that you are going to take on the people that you lead, not everyone is going to agree on that decision. And this is a national issue. You don't expect to satisfy 100%. What we are looking for is 70 or 80%. And then sometimes it's not about the individual occupying that office. It is about the office itself that we look at. Because tomorrow it could be you, tomorrow it could be me. What if today if I say no to some of the things that should be done to your office and tomorrow it becomes my turn, I turn to say yes, is that not hypocrisy? This country, why we are stagnant in terms of development is because we are not really who we claim to be. Everyone to be a saint when you are not a saint. Everyone is looking for someone to be clapping for you, not someone sometimes to be telling you, look, me, I have no problem with anyone opposing me. The only problem I have is...
Honorable Speaker, point of order, please.
Okay.
Point of order. Can we hear the point of order, please? The member for Janjamure.
Thank you very much. Point of order 18. Any member deviating from the standing order may be immediately called to order by the Speaker or by any other member rising on a point of order. I think the honorable member is actually deviating from what we are debating on. So I think it will be important if he can give focus to the report rather than blaming members or pointing fingers at members. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable member for Fonyi Jarol, the agenda on the table is basic and secondary education. Can you...
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Please sit down. Sit down, please. Can you confine your debate within the parameters of basic and secondary education report? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think his point is noted. But if you look at the debate, what I am raising out here are the challenges, because if you look at the education report, most of the challenges that they are having has something to do with what I am just commenting. That's what I mean by saying that we have to be real, because those things would never be implemented on their own in isolation. It is the human that have to implement those things. That's what I am talking about. Whatever we discuss here on the budget here, the budget will not implement itself in isolation. That's why I am making those comments. That's what I mean by saying that we have to be real who we claim to be. So I think that is part of the debate, not I'm just deviating. So because the committee has done a very good job, they highlighted things, the observations and the recommendations. And now if you look at about the compliance that they are talking about on the report there, who is to implement that compliance? It is the human resource. Why 50%? Why 40%? Has there no rules or no laws? This is what I mean by what I am saying. Because now it means there are rules, there are laws, people are not complying to that. So I thank the Education Committee, you've done a very good job, and I wish the new committee that is there will make follow-up, because there were funds allocated to run those services, those activities, but if you visit the schools, it will be like there was no fund allocated at all. This is what my debate is all about, and it is us who have to make sure that implementation is done. It is us who has to make sure that those checks and balances are made. So we have to really mean who we claim we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the member for Fonyi Jaro. I now give the floor to the member for Janjamure, the member for Janjamure.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I want to seize this opportunity to actually thank the Committee on Education through the former chairperson for a job well done. I wouldn't take much of the time simply because my fellow members have actually buttressed on most of it. So therefore, I just want to focus on Amite China Secondary School. Looking at the committee's observation on Amite China Secondary School, I want to believe that there is a need for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to actually look into the welfare of the staffs and as well as the students. For example, the observations made here are: one, the staff quarters are not really looking good over the years. I think as much as the report is limited to 2019, I think the last visit I made to Amite China Secondary School, more especially at their staff quarters, you will realize that the quarters are not really fit for one to stay, more especially for lecturers to actually occupy, and you expect them to go out there and deliver during lessons. And also on the accommodations, which is the bedding, it is also clearly stated that the beds are actually old, and I think it will be of importance if the school can really look into it, despite Child Fund some time back has actually given them that support. And also the other important aspect of it is the feeding aspect. It has been reported that the issue of feeding is been very crucial, and looking at the nature of the school, which is more of a boarding, and the only boarding school in this country, which was built way back in 1927, I think the challenge on feeding should be something that should be a thing of the past. Also, there are these pressing issues on improving and expanding the sanitary facilities like the toilets at the school. I think, yes, I would quite agree on this report that it is also of importance for such things to be factored, because if suppose 500 students are living together and their sanitary is not really being put into consideration, you will realize that then we are not really given a conducive environment to the school children to actually go through their lessons as expected. Also, it has been noted that MRC Holland has actually given some support through maintenance and repairs of the school infrastructure, which is more of limited for the classrooms, specifically, I would say, and partly the dining hall. I think it will be of great importance for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to duly consider the general welfare of the students and the teachers at Amite China Secondary School. Because some time back I have spoke about some of these things, and I can vividly recall I was challenged by the Ministry of Education that some of the things that I have said were not true, and I think the report here has actually vindicated me, because some of the things that I have said are exactly what I have seen in this report. So I think what is expected from the said ministry is for them to actually improve on how they deliver services. For the simple reason that I think the rural schools are also part of this country, and their welfare should be a concern for the said ministry than actually centralizing the development of education just around the greater Banjul area, exempting the rural communities from getting what they deserve from the national cake. So basically, I think this is some of the things that I want to look at around Amite Chino Secondary School. Also another school in Central River region, that is Chajel Basic Cycle School. One of the observations made by the committee is non-existence of workshops for technical subjects. For me, I will call this as something very discriminating, because looking at life skills, I think it is one gap that this country cannot really fill, because most of our young people in this country cannot acquire skills simply because we don't have the right platforms. We don't have the right centers for one to go and acquire the needful skill that he or she requires. So therefore, I think the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education should double on their efforts to help schools in rural communities to come up with full-fledged operational technical departments, not only for kids or for students to be trained on the theory, but also for them to be engaged on practical lessons. I think if hands are engaged, it will definitely make a huge difference. And therefore, that would actually reduce the burden for our young people, not to say the life skill domain as a domain that don't hold or that don't have that much potentials. I think some of these things should start from the grassroots. And if I say from the grassroots, from the upper basic element, that's where life skill education should actually start with. By the time some of these young people grow or graduate, they can also say GTTI and other technical institutions as vibrant institutions where they can enroll and acquire the rightful skill that could change their lives and livelihoods of Gambians. On that note, Honorable Speaker, I beg to take my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Member for Janjamure. And I will give the floor to the member for Ilyasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, first of all, I want to recognize the effort of the committee for the job well done, because definitely they have done a wonderful job. Some of those schools are really hard to reach, but they've made it possible to reach those schools so that they know the problems there. Honorable Speaker, the paper before us here, it will be difficult for us to definitely know that whether problems the committee found in those schools, whether the problems are addressed or not. I am recommending that there should be a follow-up visits to those schools so that we know whether the problems there are addressed or not. But at this point in time, it will be difficult for us to know. One thing I know, this year the committee, education, which I am part of it, we've also, we went out and then to see some schools. And then definitely we found that you have numerous of problems in the schools, ranging from lack of textbooks. Schools, many schools are there without fences. These are some of the problems definitely which should be addressed, because textbooks are very important. When we are advocating for quality education, but quality education, how can we achieve that when our schools don't have, or children don't have enough textbooks? This is going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be difficult. So again, I know there are improvements as far as my area is concerned, because it is difficult to have everything correct. So, but sometimes
when there is an improvement, I think it is necessary for us to at least say that as well. As far as my area is concerned, water problem in most of the schools has now been addressed. And schools also, the MRC Holland Foundation is definitely doing a tremendous job in the building new schools. And most of these schools, the new schools that they build, they will have a boreholes there. So obviously, I think there is development. There is development. Definitely, I think we should thank Holland, MRC Holland Foundation for their effort. Again, Honorable Speaker, it's difficult to say. Since year before last, I think we can remember when there was a windstorm. And with this windstorm, it has caused a lot of damages in some schools. And these schools are still there. There is nothing done to fix those problems. But I think this time there is allocation for basic and secondary education to go in for maintenance. I only hope Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education will make best use of this fund to make sure the damaged schools are repaired as soon as possible when the money is available. So on that note, Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much, Member for Elias. I now give the floor to the member for Bundunka Kunda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. In fact, I think I will not, I'll just have to be brief, especially on the side of the report. But first of all, I must thank the previous committee through the chair, who is presently with us here, with the good presentation that you did and the good work that you did for the assembly and for the country. This is a report, and reports are meant for people to, find out, make some kind of observation, come up with challenges and recommendations. So I think recommendations are the solution that we need to do. So as far as the report is concerned, there are a lot of issues that they observe, but my area of concern is going to be on hard-to-reach schools. These are communities that are vulnerable in terms of access to road, access to so many things. This is why most of the teachers don't want to go there. But nevertheless, looking at them, what I've observed is like most of them, they don't have clean drinking water. And I think we need to ask ourselves, if you have a school and students are not, they are not exposed to that and they don't have clean drinking water, whether that is fair to them. But thank God it is highlighted. And sometimes these are things that we normally, when people hear it, we normally put blames. But as National Assembly members, we do our oversight function, bring this report here, consider it, and ensure that it is done. I think that's the purpose, because I know from 2017 to date, there are a lot of reports that were laid here. So, but basically, just like what the Honorable Member for Jarrell was saying, these are things that sometimes we may make our decisions here, approve budgets here for ministries and give it to them. But whether they implement it effectively, that's another thing.
So, but at the end of the day, the blame will always come to us as National Assembly members because we supposed to perform our oversight functions. But this shouldn't be just within this house to come here and be talking. But even in your own community, if there is a school, you should be able to perform your oversight function on them to see if they don't have correct or good, correct toilets. You talk to the management. Or if possible, even if the management cannot do anything, you can also take your responsibility as a National Assembly member to engage the ministry concerned. Because for toilets, I saw on the report poor condition of toilets, meaning the facilities are there. But what makes it poor is because people are not taking responsibility. You know, if things are given to you, development, when we talk about sustainable development, if you happen to have development, you should be able to maintain and so that, you know, at least it can be sustainable. Because the other thing here is like, the recommendations are general recommendations that you did. So now I think the Minister of Basic and Higher Education, they should start part of their budget to ask themselves how many schools are in those areas who don't have water. Then they help them with, you know, a borehole or whatever. Because these borehole waters, in fact, that we are drinking, is just because we don't have an option. But most of these waters are not that much very clean. But because we don't have we don't have any choice. This is why we are doing it. But for the hard-to-reach community, I think the Minister of Education should prioritize them. They should prioritize them because these are kids who are equally, you know, they are equally like the ones in the urban area. So for that being the case, whatever facility our children are enjoying here in the urban area, they should be able to enjoy it, especially in the area of lab facilities. Most of the schools, they don't have lab. So, and in fact, computer labs also, they don't have it. So we don't expect them to finish their school over there without even having a little knowledge about computer. So this is a collective responsibility. The committee has already done their work. They went and get us the report and the recommendation is there. So now it's the responsibility of the ministry concerned to ensure that this report, the recommendations are taken care of, whether they will do it now or, because already this is like, it's almost about 6 years ago, but the hard-to-reach report, that one is a little bit recent. So I think the ministry should look at them and to ensure that, you know, definitely they are taken care of. So for that being the case, I once again thank the committee for, because education is key. This is why we try to invest more money in education. But even if you invest money there, you give it to people and they don't put it into good use is another thing. So this is why it's our responsibility to ensure that we all, you know, work together collectively to develop the educational sector. So on that note, Mr. Honorable Speaker, I thank you for giving me the floor.
Thank you very much, Member for Bundung Kakunda. I now give the floor to the member for Same.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Thank you very much, committee clerks. Thank you very much, the committee members who were there before. And I'm also part of this committee, Honorable Speaker. As we have seen this picture, this report, it is not a story. It is a fact. And we have been saying this for the past 5 years. The challenges that the teachers are facing, the challenges that the students are facing. We all know that a school, when there is no water, in fact, to meet the instructional hours will be difficult. Simply because when it is break time or before they enter, they have to go and look for water. So all their time is wasted. So if you look at, before a teacher can deliver well, he or she must sleep under a very comfortable place. I was a victim. When I came to this house, I started fighting Bayaba because I was in Bayaba. There was no staff quarters. But with my intervention now, there is a standard staff quarters there. The MRC Farm Holland have constructed a staff quarters for them. Now teachers are comfortable. We expect those kind of things to be in most of the schools in the rural areas. Most of these rural areas, hard to reach areas, are the schools that are suffering under this. And this is why most of the teachers don't want to go to these schools. Particularly when you turn the lower basic to a basic cycle school or to a senior secondary school. The graduates should go to those schools. But when they know that there is no staff quarters, or when the amenities there are not favorable, they will not go. So you will realize that that will have a negative impact on the performance of the students. This is why the students at the rural areas, they cannot do well in their exam. Because the right teachers that should be there did not want to go there, Honorable Speaker. And if you look at those schools, they only learn things abstract. They don't see it. Like science. You are doing science, but you are doing it in an abstract way. Much more those who are around here, they feel it. They will do well than them. This is why when you look at the report, like Karantaba, most of the students, they move. Why not? Everybody is looking for greener pasture. Everybody wants better education. If you know that if you stay there, you will not have better education. You move to where you will have better education. As you said, congested and dilapidated staff quarters, low capacity, and if you go, you'll see difficult in retaining students at the school, at the senior secondary school. And in that particular school, Honorable Speaker, there are two schools there, the lower basic, the upper and senior. There are two schools there. They are sharing that quarters. The lower basic teachers, upper basic and senior teachers are all sharing that quarters, and very dilapidated quarters, Honorable Speaker. To whom I stand, if you go and see how some of our teachers are staying, you would not believe. Definitely our teachers are doing well. They are doing very well. We must support them. And if you look at, since this SIG, School Improvement Grant, is meant purposely the day-to-day running of the school. That fund is mainly for that. But that fund is not forthcoming. Before they lay their hands on that SIG, it takes time. Honorable Speaker. And if they don't have that fund, they will not be able to do certain activities in the school. I could remember this store, it's happened at the beginning of the rainy season. There is one school in URR, Sankulekunda. We couldn't access to that school. We couldn't access to the school. Because of why? It was during the rainy season, the road was very bad. The headmaster has to put in a boat and cross and come and give us a document. It was about for schools to be closed. And those teachers were staying in that condition. When I saw this report, it came to my mind. And the report has stated, in fact, due to low budgetary allocation. When I say we put the cart before the horse. This report should have come before approving the budget so that most of you will see what we are telling you.
Honorable Speaker, point of order.
What we are telling you.
Point of order. Can we hear the point of order? Member for Kiang West.
Order 12 subclause 2, which reads, if any other time the attention of the Speaker is directed to the fact that there is less than 1/4 of the members present, excluding the Speaker, he or she shall direct members to be summoned by the ringing of the division bell. If after expiration of the 2 minutes, 1/4 of the members not present, he or she shall immediately question put, either suspend the sitting to later time or not exceeding 1 hour, or B, it says adjourn the assembly until the next sitting day. So the quorum of 1/3 of the National Assembly members, excluding the Speaker, is not met. That would have been 14 members, and we are less than 14 members present in the Assembly right now. Thank you very much.
I am not sure if whips of various blocks are in so that they can whip their members. Meanwhile, I hereby direct the table office to ring the bell for members to come in. Can we have the member for Jokadu and the member for Same to help in whipping their blocks to come in?
I mean, the health committee is sitting at the moment, so the chief whip for is there. They are sitting at the moment. Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Member for Parliamentary.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. But as the Honorable Member just said, the Health Committee is on the sit-ins at the moment. I think the Health Committee members is just a small number of people out of the 58 NAMs. I think we should be more than that here, despite the Health Committee is on the sit-in. Thank you.
Can you ring the bell? Can you please ring the bell? The member for Baka, please stay in. Huh? The member for Bakau, you may. The honorable members, I think we need to reconsider
as I was speaking earlier on, I was just looking at the issues that was raised in the report about some of the difficulties that these schools are encountering. Particularly, I started talking about Karantaba, the lower and upper and the senior. They are all using the same quarters, and that quarters is not definitely fit for somebody to stay there. It is in a very bad situation. And if you look at it, at the lower basic also, there is no enough structures
there. And the policy is saying that 1:45. But if you go to some of our schools, you have about 50 in a class or more than that. In that, there will be no quality in that. The teacher will not be able to control that 50. And Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier on, when I look at the report, I said, I think we are putting the cart before the horse, because the report has stated that we should look at the budgetary aspect of it when we look at the lower basic, Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. What they have submitted for furniture, for school furniture, is 8 million, and they were given only 3 million. What can that fish? The number of furniture that is not existent in some of these schools. And I was very sad. After making a lot of saving, they did not give anything, only 8 million to Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. And we all know that the most important sectors, education, health, agriculture, security, youth and sport. But they went and gave 40 million to foreign affairs. And we still say we want quality in our schools. Where can we have quality? We ourselves, because we are the one who approve, we ourselves, we should look at education and other social sectors as the most important sectors. Or else we will not move anywhere. So thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Thank you, member for Same constituency. I now give the floor to the member for Serekunda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. And I would thank the committee for job well done. They have highlighted the challenges faced by schools in our communities. And they have also highlighted policy issues. The report seems to be a bit too late. I think it could have served as a guiding tool through the budget bilaterals, but notwithstanding, I do hope that the committee has also used the report to determine the allocation to the Ministry of Basic Education. However, that the budget has already passed, I would recommend that such reports be laid next time before the bilaterals, so that it can guide members in their bilateral agreements. With the issues of the policy gaps, I would recommend we support the committee to come up with resolutions that will address those issues. So on that note, I beg to take my seat, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, member for Serekunda. I now recognize the member for Sanementreng constituency.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor, Honorable Speaker. With the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, I will recommend or I will urge the ministry to provide library for the materials that they're supposed to, so that at least kids can also go aside, apart from their daily businesses in schools, at least to enrich themselves with education. And first of all, also, I would like to thank the Honorable Gassama and his team, that is the education team, for fulfilling their constitutional mandate by providing this August Assembly a tangible report that the National Assembly can also rely on, especially this important committee, to make sure that they are guided, and then also guided by items that can also help them in guiding the ministry to fulfill what they're supposed to. And then also on the accounting and audit issues, as highlighted by the committee, there were variances of $4,084,970, which I'll also urge the committee to do a follow-up for the year under a review of 2018. And I will also urge the committee, through the committee chair or the former chair, as stated, to do a follow-up of this huge amount of $4 million. This is public fund, and also so that we can also take ourselves from repeating the same issues at all time. Do a follow-up to make sure that this money is refunded, or get the area or the area responsible on account to make sure these are public fundings, and then to be refunded to the ministry. Otherwise, it might affect the education for the children in our nation. And then also, there are some areas which the hard-to-reach area, which are very, very common. That is the lack of enough classrooms, which is a very serious matter, and it seems general. It seems to be a very general issue that is affecting schools in the provinces. And then children in provinces have the right, as the children in the combo area, that they have right to education. And also the area that the Education Committee has also recommended during their investigation, after their investigation, which is the committee strongly recommends management to computerize its accounting system for proper and accurate recording of all financial transactions. This is very, very key. So I will also urge the Education Committee again to also do a follow-up to make sure that that is implemented. And then also the committee strongly recommends management to put stringent measures in place to ensure the safety and availability of payment vouchers for verification. Is also important as well, because once vouchers are not provided, so I'm not sure how the ministry, the audit department is going to do their balance and accounting. And then also there's another key point area that they've also recommended, that all loans be deducted on the due dates, and college should also, that is the Gambia College of course, should also have a loan policy. You know, without the loan policy, I think with a policy, this can also guide them of how to do their work effectively. For loan deductions, must not go above 40% of the salary. And also, having gone through it, and we've also realized that some staff were going home monthly with a very, very minimal amount of money after having the deduction entirely for a particular month. So on that note, Honorable Speaker, these are few points that I've observed, and also will urge to the committee to do the monitoring constantly. On that note, I'll take my seat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member for Sanimentering. I now give the floor to the member for Jara West constituency.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. I also want to join my colleagues to thank the former chairperson of the Education Committee, Honorable Gassama, and his committee members, the clerks and support staffs, for laying this very important report in front of us. Definitely they have done good, and this can tell the importance of National Assembly members, because this is the performance of their oversight functions, going out, reaching public institutions to know what are their constraints, their challenges, and the way forward. And today we have seen what the importance of their visits to these public institutions. I will also use this opportunity. I know the Education Committee went for a rollout not long ago, but they should use this report as a guiding tool so as to make sure they follow whether their recommendations, some have been addressed or not, because I have seen so many recommendations which, if they are taken seriously, it will help our country and help the people of this country. So it is better for the current Committee on Education to use this report as a guiding tool and make a follow-up and see if their recommendations have been addressed. And secondly, I would want to go like the hard-to-reach area, schools that are labeled as hard-to-reach. To me, it will be very important. I know there is a token given to teachers who are going there, but then to convince them more, stakeholders have to sit and then try to address this issue properly. If not, it will be a problem for schools that are at the rural area. And then, as the law says, every child has the right to education. So I believe, I can see in the report there are subjects at the lower and then upper basic schools or senior secondary schools, but you can have those subjects and then you have lack of teachers in those areas. So I believe those teachers, something must be created for them to attract them to go there. We have seen now teachers were complaining of paying rent, like some amount are mentioned in the report that they were paying rent, which is very, very expensive for them. But also, let's thank the government and then MRC Holland Foundation. Now, you can go to so many schools, they have staff quarters, very good staff quarters, and then this should be a continuity. We should all work together to see that is addressed. To me, if there is a token created and then that should attract teachers, at least to read to those schools and give quality educations to our children at the rural area, it will be very, very good. So that should be taken very serious. I've seen also where teachers complain of lack of toilets or dilapidated toilets. But also, as some of the speakers said, we should be very serious when we are giving some facilities. A facility can be new, correct, looking good, but if not taken care of, in few years, it will go down, it will dilapidate. So the people have to take care of their facilities, to maintain durability. But if you have a facility and then you are not taking care of it, however it is new, just for a few years, you will see it go down. So as the Honorable Member for Bundunga Kunda said, it is our responsibilities, all of us, to perform our oversight functions and also to engage the people to maintain our facilities. So on that note, Honorable Speaker, I was just intending to put some words to contribute on this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member for Jara West. That's all on my list. May I now call on the mover of the motion to respond to issues and wind up the debate. Honorable Member, please, you may respond.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Before I respond to some of the issues that are raised in the debate, I would like to thank the Honorable National Assembly members for their contributions in the debate. I also want to make one or two clarifications, and one of it is that the report I just presented is in two parts. One is the consideration of audited financial reports and state management letters and management letters. So that one, I told you earlier during the presentation of the report, was that we had a backlog that went back as far back as around 2015. We were working on those backlogs. The second part of the report is more recent. That one pertains to the outreach, schools outreach that we did in July 2021. But after that session, it was overtaken by political events. There were elections and so on. That was caused delay in the presentation of the report. And I want to take this opportunity to tender my apologies to the National Assembly members who queried that the report is late. And then I want also to urge the National Assembly members that when reports are late in the National Assembly, when we listen, let us listen generously. Generous listening requires us to listen in order to understand, but not to listen to respond. To describe the compliance reports, the compliance that is stated in the report as utter nonsense is the height of ignorance. Because why? It is not the National Assembly Select Committee that defines compliance. That is the GPPA thing. It is the GPPA that defines that a compliance level of a certain percentage is fairly compliant or not compliant. So it's not the National Assembly members, so it's not Select Committee that determines it. So to describe it as utter nonsense is the height of ignorance. When you don't understand, you ask questions. All right? And then let's just move on. The Honorable National Assembly member for Kiang West queried about the condition of schools as of now. And then he also talked about the retention. Of course, this report pertains to, like I said earlier, to a school visit that we did in 2017. And I'm pretty sure that, a lot of issues are not addressed since then. This is confirmed by the recent school visit that was done recently, just by the Education Committee. By the Education Committee. Of course, they have not visited the schools that we visited earlier in July 2021, but the situation remains pretty much the same. We know not much has been done, except in the case of few schools. Bolibana, when we visited, the Teachers Credit Union was constructing a staff quarters, but that one was complete. And how did I know it? I was invited to the inauguration. So I went there, I knew it was complete. They did a wonderful job for the committee. The issue of staff quarters still remains a problem. And I could remember when we came back, of course, after this, before the report was prepared, after the tour, we had some little engagements with the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. We always engage with them. We, as a National Assembly, the committee will promise to, make some advocacies for them to, so that they could have funds to build staff quarters. I think we recommended a certain amount to be given to the Ministry of Basic Education. But what happened was that soon after that, there was a supplementary appropriation that was laid before the Assembly, and we thought that it was going to be included in the supplementary appropriation, but unfortunately it was not. So this is something, when we present reports in the National Assembly here, yes, it's true. It's a particular committee. It's a committee of the National Assembly that is responsible for the report. But the reason why we led the report in the National Assembly here to inform the plenary about the situation as they are happening in the schools that we visited. And we also hope that we will get your support to push for situations to change. This is the essence of the report. But whatever was said here actually is what was obtained. Like Honorable Member for Sami said, this is not a story. These are facts. These are real facts. And, and these problems are just not recent. They are perennial problems. They have been existing. I went to postings in URR in 2001. When I went to Region 6, I was the only Gambian graduate teacher who accepted posting in that area. when we graduated from university, any teacher who was posted, they refused to go. I was the only one who accepted posting in Region 6. Fatoto, I was there. So I was around that area for 4 or 5 years. I went to Fatoto, and then from Fatoto, I went to Nyakwe. You know, but during the time that I was there, I applied for master's program. I was not given the scholarships. So these are the kind of frustration that are happening. You know, you go to Region 6, there are problems with staff quarters. There are problems in Bolibana. When I went, there are 2 students who wanted scholarship to come and study in the university, and up to now, some of them are telling me that they haven't got the scholarships. So these are the kind of inducements that the teachers need to be able to go to those schools to teach. If you accepted posting in those rural schools, in those hard-to-reach schools, and there are certain opportunities, I think they should be given priority. You know, that will encourage others to go there. So these are some of the problems. Staff quotas remain a serious issue, And unfortunately, government is not providing staff quotas. It is mainly the MRC for Holland Foundation that is doing a fantastic job in providing staff quotas and other schools. If it were not for the MRC Foundation, the educational infrastructure in the Gambia would have been terrible, I can tell you. Very, very bad. They are doing a good job. I think as a National Assembly, we need to push harder. We need to make efforts, concrete, practical efforts, you know, to provide funds for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to provide staff quotas. In fact, one of the recommendations I mentioned was that, look, when government is building schools, they should provide a full package school. You know, you don't build a school, few classroom blocks, and then you leave it open, expecting, you know, furniture to be, you know, to be sent from the sky. That doesn't happen. When you build a school, provide a complete set, build classroom blocks, furnish the school, build libraries, staff quarters, everything that is needed in the school, provide it and then hand it over so that. But the problem here is they just build classroom blocks and they leave it like that, without a fence and nothing. And you expect teachers to, populate that with students and, you know, think that teachers will come and teach confidently. That doesn't happen anywhere. I think we should graduate from those kind of attitudes. Okay? Somebody, he also mentioned about serious lapses in the in millions committed to education. Yes, we know that when COVID-19 struck, it came at a time when nobody expected it. You know, the entire world was shocked. Of course, we know that the Ministry of Education, I'm not holding brief for any ministry here, but we know they took practical steps. You know, some arrangements were done in schools to, some schools went into double shifting, you know, different arrangements were done. And if they came to the National Assembly and we gave them $200 million here, to do some, to employ new staffs because they needed more staff. Schools were arranged, they needed more staff. We gave them $200 million. But then there were issues with that $200 million because it was difficult to access that fund from the Ministry of Finance. Because when it was brought here, when we approved it, you know, the then Minister of Finance wanted that money to be lodged in contingencies. Oh, sorry, centralized services. So some of us advised against it because we knew then that it was going to be a problem to access that money. And just as we thought, it happened like that. That money who was lodged, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education could not access that money until around February this year. The teachers' union advised the teachers to go on a strike because of allowances. So then, you know, our committee re-engaged and then, you know, we were able to settle those issues. But actually, it remains a serious issue. I think in as much as we want to help the Ministry of Education, they should also be, be serious with the way they treat funds. Okay? Then the Honorable Member for Joshua advised that we make a follow-up. Of course, certainly we will do that. I am no longer the chairman of the Education Committee, but I'm still a member of the Education Committee. After session, when we met, I think what we are going to do, in fact, so before even I talk about that, you know, we as a nation needs to be very serious about the National Assembly. I don't think the National Assembly is taken seriously. The reasons for that, I don't know actually. But when reports are laid, the ministries, the departments that the report affects should be present here. It is not happening. Nobody from the Ministry of Basic Education, nobody from the Ministry of Higher Education, nobody from all the satellite institutions who are contained in the report here is here today. This should not happen. It was only yesterday that I knew that I was going that I was contacted to lay this report. But otherwise, I was going to spend laying this report until these people are here. It doesn't make any sense. We're just talking to ourselves here. We've complained about that throughout the 5th legislature. 5 years we've been talking about it, and nothing is happening. So what is the essence of laying this report here now? Huh? So now the only option that we are left with now is to prepare this recommendation and send it to them. Yes, I will recommend that to the chairman of the committee when he comes. And then from there, we begin the follow-ups. We can't just prepare reports, lay it here, and then, allow things to rest like that. It doesn't make sense. It's just a waste of resources. We shouldn't allow that, okay? The honorable member for Wuli is also said such reports should have been used on the budget bilaterals. Exactly. That would have added a lot of value to this report. Now the budget bilateral is gone, so I think a committee, we should tighten our belts and try to engage the Ministry of Basic Education more, so that from now, we work from now against next budget session. If you are able to get something for them, that's fine. Otherwise, next budget session, we should consider all these reports very seriously, so that we base our engagements on these reports. And then he also recommends that we share the recommendation with the institution. Certainly, we will do that. Lower Badibu also thinks that we should engage the ministries before the budget, like bilateral, just like the member for Wuli is said. Combo is Karantaba, 10 meters from the borehole. And then the recommendation is that we have to engage the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to find out whether the school has a separate borehole. If it doesn't, and they are relying on the community borehole that is very close to the toilet facilities, I think we will encourage them to get a separate borehole for the school that is, constructed away from toilet facilities. Because in as much as we want to drink, we want to have water, it should be good, clean, potable water. We don't want to drink water and then get sick after drinking the water. That is counterproductive, all right? Foni Bintang, he said, Foni Bintang, okay. He was also talking about personal emoluments and development budgets. Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education is a huge, huge consumer of salaries and allowances. Understandably, because they have a very, very large labor force, about 24,000 teachers. Of course, naturally, we would expect them to, and they have to be paid, and naturally, we would expect them to consume a lot of money in terms of personal emoluments, salaries, and allowances. And even that is not enough. I have always told people, if you want to invest in education, this is a matter of simple economics. Put money where you want people to be, and they will go there. Put money where you want the best brains, they will go there. Give them good salary. Give them, very attractive salary, and then you will get good people. People want money. They will go there, and then we have good teachers in the system. And when we give them good salary and allowances, we will get them where we want to get them. They can go as far as Bolivana to take because they are here, because they are going to be well remunerated. This is simple. But until we do that, it's going to be very high, it's going to be very difficult to change the situation. So pretty much, Honorable Speaker, all the debates, follow the same pattern. School, water for the schools, classroom blocks, staff quarters, and all these things. So these are basically the reports, and I think I want to end here. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for...
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for laying that motion and, of course, responding to issues and winding up the debate. And I want to equally thank all honorable members who participated in the debate and those who did not but agreed with the report for your time. And now be it resolved that this Honorable Assembly do adopt the consolidated report of the Select Committee on Education, Training and ICT on public institutions from 2017 to 2020 and its visits to schools on hard-to-reach areas in Central River Region and Upper River Region, July 2022. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. On that note, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned until Tuesday, 29th November 2022. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The Assembly now stand adjourned until Tuesday, 29 November 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt.